Chapter 938. My bodyguards are all behind me. Xianxia sat diagonally on the chair, his slender legs crossed. Which one do you want, old Song? You know who I'm asking. Song Jiang sneered. Facing such a young man, his emotions were even more complicated. Xianxia being too strong might not be a good thing. Is that so? But I like the feeling of being invincible. This was Xianxiao's pride. Song Jiang calmed himself down and picked up the teacup again. Young man, let's talk again. Your request is too much. But I don't want to waste this time. Xianxia spread his hands. You're the one who wants to expose the murderer in Bai Sini's case. If I were old Song, I would let Song Xiaoji go with a smile. There were no traces of the murderer in Bai Sini's previous cases, but this time he has appeared. What did it mean to appear? Song Jiang only felt regret now. Doesn't Zhongting have anything to use against you? You can try, Xianxia said bluntly. Rules are made for people. No matter who it is, they have to do things according to the rules. But I don't like rules. I like to dominate everything. Then you might be disappointed, old Song. If it's up to your son, he might not be able to hold up the sky. With that, Xianxia took out his phone again and placed it in front of Song Jiang. He repeated the recording. Make your decision. Song Jiang was upset and angry, but there was nothing he could do about the young man in front of him. I accept your conditions, but that doesn't mean I've lost. Words are no proof. Right is proof. Xianxia, don't go too far. When had Song Jiang ever been humiliated like this by a junior? But the young man in front of him had done it. If he had a gun in his hand, he would definitely send Xianxia to hell. But for now, he could only swallow his anger. I'm doing this to save everyone the trouble. With that, Xianxia stretched out his hand and placed the prepared paper, pen and ink in front of Song Jiang. Song Jiang's face turned red and he was almost fuming. I'll settle this score with you sooner or later. Xianxia spread his hands again, indicating that he would be waiting for him at any time. On the other side, Su Che led the police and found the cave where the kidnappers had taken Song Xiaoji to. However, because Song Xiaoji had exposed the GPS on her, the two kidnappers took it. There are traces of blood inside. The two shouldn't have gone far. The police surveyed the surroundings and discussed searching the mountain. Su Che looked at the footprints and bloodstains on the ground. The drag marks were so obvious, so he went to look for them. The police followed closely behind. Not long after, Su Che heard the sound of digging on the mountainside. When he rushed over, he saw two men covered in blood burying Xing Kai and Song Xiaoji. In the deep pit, only a portion of their skin and clothes could be seen. When the two men saw Su Che appear, they looked at each other and pounced on him with their tools. However, they were kicked away by Su Che. The other person saw that Su Che was a martial artist, so he turned around and ran. However, before he could take 2 steps, Su Che punched him in the head. Tin Shao, He Shao, the police. They are Shao, He, all. He's still breathing. He just fainted. Send him to the hospital. Su Che looked at the two of them and sighed. Xing Kai was really going all out for love this time. He used to think that this man was a coward, but now he felt that he still had some guts and courage. Then Su Che called Xianxia to report. He's been saved, but I'm afraid he'll have to lie in the hospital for 10 days to half a month. As long as he's alive. With that, Xianxia hung up the phone and left with the agreement signed by Song Jiang. Thank you, Elder Song. Song Jiang sneered as he watched Xianxia walk away. His hands clenched into fists. See. The police arrested the kidnappers and brought them back to the police station. Xing Kai and Song Xiaoji were sent to the hospital. Because Xing Kai's injuries were too serious and he had multiple fractures, he stayed in the operating theater for 3 hours before being sent back to the ward. Song Xiaoji was only unconscious, but she suddenly woke up halfway and sat up from the hospital bed. Mu Qiqi was at the door of the ward. When she heard Song Xiaoji's shout, she immediately walked in. You're awake? Qiqi, where's Kai? Song Xiaoji immediately grabbed her hand. Kai is seriously injured. Lift the curtain and take a look yourself? Mu Qiqi gestured to her next door. Song Xiaoji quickly opened it and saw Xing Kai lying on the hospital bed wrapped in gauze. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. You won't die, right? You won't die, right? Master Shao spent so much effort to negotiate. How could he let him die so easily? Mu Qiqi smiled. Don't worry. He's just suffering from external injuries. He just needs to recuperate. What about his secretary? She's also in the hospital. Her injuries aren't serious. It's good. Song Xiaoji immediately relaxed. Only then did she feel that she had no strength left in her body. Lie down and rest. When your body recovers, you can take care of him. Don't you think so? After saying that, Mu Qiqi took out the agreement signed by Song Jiang from her pocket and handed it to Song Xiaoji. Don't worry. In the future, the Song family won't cause trouble for you anymore. You now belong to the Xing family and Xing Kai, second sister-in-law. Song Xiaoji could hardly believe it. However, when she saw the familiar handwriting, she cried out, "Thank you, thank you. In the future, don't let your imagination run wild. Look at that man. He can do so much for you. Cherish the relationship between the two of you." Song Xiaoji turned to look at Xing Kai and nodded vigorously. "I know. The old man called and asked you to go back for dinner. However, with second brother's current condition, he probably won't be able to eat. I'll go eat for you. You guys can rest well in the hospital. Let's go." Xing Zhao's voice suddenly came from outside the ward. Mu Qiqi responded and patted Song Xiaoji's shoulder. "Don't worry about your safety. There are bodyguards outside. Besides, Song Jiang also signed this. He won't dare to go back on his word for the time being." With that, Mu Qiqi walked out of the ward and returned to Xing Zhao's side. "What was the negotiation between you and Song Jiang like today? I really want to know. If I wasn't pregnant, I would have gone with you." Xing Zhao tilted his head to look at the little one and hooked her chin. It was thrilling and exciting. "Then Song Jiang must hate you now." "Why? Are you afraid?" Xing Zhao put his arm around Mu Qiqi's shoulder and led her to the black Bentley. "It's not that I'm afraid. I just feel that my man is a true hero." Xing Zhao brought her into the car and protected her abdomen. His expression did not change. "But in the future we might face an even greater crisis." Chapter 939. In the hospital, after Mu Qiqi left, the ward suddenly quieted down. When Song Xiaoji saw that there was someone guarding the door, she immediately felt relieved. She got up and closed the door before sitting next to Xing Kai's bed. Then she stretched out her injured hand and held Xing Kai's palm tightly. "Why are you so stupid? I'm not worth your sacrifice at all." "It's worth it." The sudden hoarse voice caused Song Xiaoji to suddenly raise her head. Her eyes were filled with surprise. "You're awake? You're worth it." Xing Kai was seriously injured, so he did not dare to move. However, when he saw his woman by his side, everything that had happened today was worth it. "I'll never leave you again, Akai. We'll never be separated again in this life." Song Xiaoji lay on Xing Kai's body and cried bitterly. "When you're better, we'll have a few children. Our family will be together forever." Xing Kai really wanted to raise his hand, but he didn't have the strength. However, the feelings in his heart were very complicated. He had a lot to say, but his body was too tired. That night, old Master Xing did not wait for Song Xiaoji and Xing Kai to return home for dinner. Instead, Mu Qiqi returned to the Xing family home. "Call second brother and little Song and ask where they are. It's already 9 o'clock. Why aren't they back yet? There has to be a limit to a date." The old man was very anxious and irritable. It should be said that he had a premonition in his heart. Mu Qiqi put down her chopsticks and pressed the back of his thin hand. She said seriously, "Don't look for them. They won't be back for dinner tonight. They're in the hospital. However, I can promise you that in half a month they'll definitely come back to eat with you." The old man looked at Mu Qiqi. His lips moved, but he could not make a sound. Don't ask why. Second brother wanted to completely cut off his connection with the Song family, so he had to pay a price. Fortunately, all of this has been resolved. Mu Qiqi's expression was relaxed and there was no trace of worry. "So you don't have to worry." "Did eighth brother interfere?" Mu Qiqi nodded. There was no need to hide such things from the old man. The old man sighed and picked up his bowl and chopsticks again. "I've always wanted eighth brother to shoulder the burden of the Xing family. But now that he's done it, I can't bear to let this old bag of bones go. Fortunately, there's someone like you by eighth brother's side. I can be at ease." "What do you mean by stuff?" Mu Qiqi was unhappy. "You'll be an old man in the future. Eat by yourself. I won't accompany you." "Thank you, little seven." Grandpa Xing said from the bottom of his heart, "Don't think that eighth brother can do anything. If you hadn't connected the family, eighth brother wouldn't have become the mature and steady person he is now. He changed because of you. Of course. Mu Qiqi looked smug. So you have to treat me better. After dinner, Xianxia returned to the Xing residence to pick up Mu Qiqi after dealing with Zhongting's matters. On the way back, Mu Qiqi looked at Xianxia like a little fangirl outside with a strong sense of obsession. If you keep looking at me, my clothes will burn, Xianxia reminded her as he drove. The old man thanked me just now. Although I've long forgotten those grudges from the past, I still feel a sense of accomplishment seeing him rely on me so much now. So, your wife is a charmer. After Mu Qiqi said that, she couldn't help but laugh. Xianxia did not cooperate with her performance. Instead, he said to her, when we get home later, you sleep first. I'll go to the Xin residence. Are you going to discuss something important with Dad again? Xianxia did not say anything. After the car stopped, he kissed Mu Qiqi's forehead and said, I have to protect you guys so that I can be a superhero, right? Go in yourself. Mu Qiqi nodded and consciously entered the house. Only then did Xianxia go to the Xin residence with peace of mind. Did you expose the old lady's matter to Song Jiang? So, I want to take a different path. Xianxia had come today to talk to Xin Jianchuan about this matter. The meeting between Song Jiang and I today is equivalent to signing a truce agreement. However, I have no intention of stopping the investigation into him. Moreover, the old lady can't be the initiator of the whole thing. Why? Xin Jianchuan asked. Because on the day she arrived in Jianchuan, I arranged for her to have a full body checkup. Today I received her checkup report. It's early-stage lung cancer. After hearing this, Xin Jianchuan was silent. After a moment he said, then she has to be treated. I've already made the arrangements, Xianxia replied. Xin Jianchuan nodded. Things are unpredictable in the world. I hope the old lady can recover. I promised Song Jiang that I would delete the recording on my phone, but Song Qiaoji and Sheng Kai still have the original copy. I will let Tang Yan study it because he can find the murderer of the series of murders from it. However, this matter can only be carried out in secret. Song Jiang hates you the most right now. Xin Jianchuan pointed at Xianxia and said, so you and Qiqi must be careful, especially Xiaoqi. She'll be giving birth in a few months. I don't want the Song family to seize the opportunity to cause trouble. That's also your life. You have to hold on tight. As for other matters, leave the education industry to me. Right now, a few big brands are integrating. It's more than enough to fight against Yashang Group. They won't have the chance. Xing Xiao gave Xin Jianchuan an answer firmly. At the Banyan courtyard, Mu Qiqi was soaking alone in the bathtub in her bedroom. The little thing in her stomach was growing day by day. Mu Qiqi could clearly feel her appetite growing by the day. Seeing that her hands and feet had become thicker, Mu Qiqi was a little discouraged. When I give birth, I wonder how fat I'll be. Why are you so fat? You're also my only wife. Xing Xiao leaned against the door frame and answered her muttering. Mu Qiqi turned her head and saw the man. She immediately smiled. You're back. How do you do it? Every time you see me, you're exceptionally surprised? Xing Xiao was a little strange. The two of them had only been apart for a short 20 minutes. Don't you want to rub, touch, kiss and hug me when you see me? I thought that love is like this. Even if you're in front of me, I'll miss you very much. My heart and eyes are filled with you. Every second I see you, I feel very happy. Chapter 940. Mu Qiqi widened her eyes and looked at Xing Xiao. They had been husband and wife for so many years, but this man still liked to say sweet words. Just by saying it once in a while, this man's heart would fly into the sky. Good words don't be repeated twice. Xing Xiao lowered his head slightly and bit her neck in the misty bathtub. His posture was very erotic. Mu Qiqi felt her entire body start to tremble, especially after she was pregnant. Every inch of her skin had become more sensitive. How could she bear being bitten by Xing Xiao like this? Xiao, I'm afraid of you. I'll say it, okay? Let go of me first. It's too late. Xing Xiao had long discovered that she was becoming more and more sensitive, so he had 1,000 ways to punish her. Mu Qiqi was afraid that he would be serious, so she quickly stopped him. Be careful. Don't hurt the baby in your stomach. I know what I'm doing. What was a sense of propriety? When Mu Qiqi left the bathroom, she had already fallen asleep. Her face was still extremely red when she was in Xianxia's arms. As a woman, when she loved someone, perhaps it was as the little thing had said. She wanted to see him all the time, kiss him, touch him, and say that she loved him countless times. This was a woman's mentality. As for a man, if he really loved someone, the most he would think about was sleeping with her. He would sleep with her in all kinds of positions, especially when he saw that she couldn't get out of bed. That kind of satisfaction made a man the most comfortable. However, as a member of the Xing family, this night was a happy and reunited one. However, as a member of the Song family, Song Jiang's expression was gloomy the whole day. Song Buji was deeply afraid that the old man would have a heart attack or a sudden cerebral hemorrhage, so he immediately advised, "A loss is a loss. Anyway, you don't care about Song Qiaoji. Just treat it as a greeting gift to the Xing family." Song Jiang slapped the wooden table. "You only know how to make sarcastic remarks. It's been 25 years. I, Song Jiang, have prepared for most of my life just to come back and cause trouble for the Shen family. It's to take revenge, not to be taken revenge on by others." "Then what way do you have to deal with Xianxia?" Song Buji asked him. There was no trace of anger in his expression. "Dad, it's not that I want to criticize you, but what have you done to vent your anger? Do you really think the police will give up on the investigation of those people at Changrong Electronics? As long as there is new evidence, they can activate the contingency plan at any time. Don't provoke Xianxia anymore. We need to stabilize our position in Jianchuan first." Uncle Song brewed a pot of hot tea and placed it in front of Song Jiang. "I've always thought that we were in an active position while the Shen family was in a passive position. But now I realize that it doesn't seem to be the case. Xianxia seems to be plotting something. Didn't you notice?" When Song Jiang was reminded by his son, he immediately thought of the old lady of the Liu family. When Xianxia made the deal with him, he had only mentioned it once. It was also because of this that Song Buji discovered the problem. "So, please don't come knocking on my door for no reason. There's still a long way to go before the transition. Be as calm as you have been in the past." After hearing his son's words, Song Jiang took a deep breath. He had indeed been agitated by Xianxia. He had prepared for so many years and he was used to being a smiling Buddha. But now, because of a young man, he was pestering him endlessly. It was time for him to reflect. "You decide what to do in the near future. I need to go up the mountain to recuperate for a few days. Dad, don't forget that we have to prepare for something big." Song Buji reminded him that only by helping Deputy Liang get the position would he have the right to completely settle the Shen family. "Xianxia already knows that we have Deputy Liang behind us, so don't contact him for the time being in case he catches anything. We have to get rid of this person. Otherwise, he'll be our biggest obstacle," Song Jiang instructed Song Buji before he left. "Dad, if you really can't handle it, invite Uncle Rong back." Song Jiang did not say anything and got up from his chair. Song Buji sat on the chair, drinking red wine as he watched Mu Qiqi's past news. The little bride's birth was extraordinary. He did not expect her and her sister to be born with different fathers. The world was really big and there were all kinds of strange things. It was really interesting. Sheng Kai spent the next 10 days in the hospital. Fortunately, his injuries were recovering day by day. Old Master Xing knew that his grandson was in the hospital, but he did not go to see him because he did not want to feel uncomfortable. Therefore, he listened to Mu Qiqi's words. He only needed to stay at home and wait for the two of them to come back for dinner. Half a month later, Sheng Kai was officially discharged from the hospital. When he was discharged, he called the old man and told him that he wanted to go home and have dinner with him. When the old man received the call, his eyes almost became moist. "Hurry up and come back. You've been out for so many days. Aren't you afraid that I'll be worried?" At 7 o'clock in the evening, Sheng Kai got into Su Che's car and brought Song Qiaoji back to the Xing family home. Just like the first time, the old man paced around the living room anxiously. As soon as Sheng Kai entered the house, he knelt in front of the old man again. "Grandpa, I'm unfilial. Will it still be like this in the future?" Sheng Kai shook his head. "I will always stay in the Xing family and by Grandpa's side." The old man waved his hand. Knowing that he was fine, he was completely relieved. "Come and eat. I'm already so old. What else do I have to look forward to?" Sheng Kai held Song Qiaoji's hand and formally greeted the other members of the Xing family. Eldest brother, third brother and fourth brother were all abroad. Only sixth brother had stayed in the Xing family from the beginning to the end. He had also witnessed the changes in the Xing family over the years. Because of Xing Zhao's example, even if Xing Kai brought back the woman of his enemy, he would not be surprised. When they met, he would still call her second sister-in-law. Mu Qiqi and Xing Xiao entered the Xing family's door at 7 in the evening. This time old Master Xing was completely satisfied. In a while, let the butler take a photo of our family. It was rare for Mu Qiqi to see the old man so happy, so she said on behalf of her man, "Old man, now that second brother is back, shouldn't you let Xiao relax and hand Huang Yao over to second brother?" After hearing Mu Qiqi's words, the old man was stunned as he looked at Xing Xiao and Xing Kai. "I don't care." In the past, before Zhongting merged with Huang Yao, he arrived home on time at 7:30 p.m. With Huang Yao, he can only arrive home at 8:30 p.m. The time he spends with me is obviously much less. No one said anything. At this moment, Xing Xiao calmly said, "He has no choice. Everything has been arranged clearly." Chapter 941. Huang Yao is much easier to manage than before. You don't have to do your best. After Xing Xiao took over Huang Yao, he had used Zhongting's powerful background to optimize Huang Yao's internal structure. The problems from before had long disappeared and now the managers were much more relaxed. Then it's decided. Mu Qiqi knew that her man was much more relaxed, so she immediately beamed. "I say, you came back for dinner because of this, right?" The old man saw through Mu Qiqi's intentions and grabbed her. "Others can't even beg for it, but you don't have any intentions at all. This is God's arrangement." Mu Qiqi peeled a shrimp and placed it on the old man's plate. "Speaking of which, what do you plan to do, second sister-in-law?" When Song Qiaoji heard Mu Qiqi suddenly mention her, she said, "I'm an obstetrician, so I still plan to work in the hospital." "Then it's decided." "Perfect." Old Master Xing looked at the family and felt that they were so harmonious and warm. He felt that he had no regrets. Now, his greatest hope was to see eighth brother's child born as soon as possible. Time passed very quickly. Ever since Xing Xiao and Song Jiang stopped fighting, the Song family had indeed quietened down a lot. For 3 consecutive months, there were no more incidents. At present, Feng Xianxia was about to give birth, and Mu Qiqi was 7 or 8 months pregnant. Wherever she went, she carried a big belly. In these few months, a brand new situation had appeared in Jianchuan's education industry. A few old educational institutions, probably in order to find a chance of survival, actually boldly invested money and began to optimize the industrial structure. Soon they won a good reputation in the education world. This was a huge impact on Yashang Group. The Song family's financial industry abroad was not optimistic. They might not be able to last for the 5 years that Xing Xiao had predicted. Therefore, the domestic business was very important to the Song family. It was already late autumn and Jianchuan loved to rain. Looking out from the towering office, all he could see was mist. Xing Xiao was wearing a blue suit and a brown coat. He sat in the reception area with Xin Jianchuan and was predicting what the Song family would do next in order to counterattack. Not long ago, in the International Educational Institution Selection Competition, Yashang Group was directly thrown out of the top 10 with a 13% complaint rate. I have also collected some recent data about the education industry. According to the survey, Yashang Group was indeed very strong at the beginning, but the disadvantages are also very obvious. According to the normal competitive relationship, Yashang Group will soon no longer be competitive. Dad, the Song family must know what we know better. Song Buji will definitely change next. Xing Xiao stacked the documents together and looked at Xin Jianchuan seriously. We must stabilize the current situation as much as possible. Most importantly, we can't let the Song family know that we have anything to do with this. Don't worry about that. Xin Jianchuan took off the glasses on the bridge of his nose and rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Every time I have something to convey, I will entrust a lawyer to convey it on my behalf. I haven't met them before, so the Song family won't be able to notice it for a while. It's been 3 months. I also want to see if the Song family has really improved after being quiet. With that, Xing Xiao stood up from the sofa and said to Xin Jianchuan, "I'll go home with you. It's only 5 o'clock now." Xin Jianchuan looked at his watch in confusion. Qi emotions are the most unstable, Xing Xiao answered naturally. Xin Jianchuan immediately understood. Only when it came to that little one would his son-in-law not ask about anything. He had to satisfy her first. Don't give in to her too much. There has to be a limit to everything. Xianxia did not say anything. He had never complained about the little one in front of Xianxia. His tolerance for others was very low, but when it came to Muqiqi his tolerance seemed to be endless. As for why Muqiqi's emotions were unstable, it was because she had recently joined a group of mothers. There were many pregnant women or mothers in the group who were always sharing all kinds of negative things. After Muqiqi saw them, she became much more sensitive than usual. If Xianxia was by her side, she wouldn't have so many feelings. Things like giving birth to a child was difficult. Mother-in-law and husband couldn't protect themselves. Giving birth to a child was painful, not allowing a cesarean section, and no one cared about the pregnant woman after the child was born, and so on. In the end, Xianxia left the group for her. Don't read too many useless things. You don't have these problems. I'm just pitiful for them. Muqiqi felt uncomfortable. Many people say that if two people are together for a long time, they will turn love into family. When the child is born, there's a high chance that it will turn into an enemy. What about love for each other? Xianxia hugged her with a teasing smile on his lips. Love is the most important thing to maintain a family. Xiao, anyway, I won't turn love into family in this life. Without love, how can I be called a partner? After saying that, Muqiqi lowered her head again and looked at her morning book. Xianxia had been listening to her nagging like this recently. Calluses were about to form in his ears. However, after hearing what she said just now, he was instantly satisfied. I know I've been a little frustrated recently because Xianxian's due date is almost here. I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid of pain. Muqiqi hugged Xingzhao's hand with a pitiful expression. The technology for painless childbirth is very mature now. Don't be afraid. Xingzhao comforted her. Then when the time comes, you have to accompany me to the delivery room. As the two of them were talking, Muqiqi suddenly hugged her stomach as if her body had been frozen. Xingzhao propped himself up, but she immediately grabbed Xingzhao's palm and placed it on her bulging abdomen. The baby is moving. Xingzhao and Tang Yan had discussed Muqiqi's fluctuating emotions. In the end, they agreed that women in the middle and late stages of pregnancy were almost like this. However, when she was in the forensics laboratory, she was as calm as usual. I really want her to come out earlier. That way I can know if she's a boy or a girl and if she looks like you or me. Xingzhao chatted with her like this every day. After coaxing her to sleep, he went to the study to continue working. Actually, this thing was very obedient most of the time, except that sometimes it would let its imagination run wild. The rain in late autumn did not fall much, but the cold wind was bone-chilling. And on this night, a murder case and a traffic accident happened in Jianchuan. Because the accident happened in the jurisdiction of the branch office, Tang Yan had no choice but to leave home in the middle of the night. The deceased's surname was Lu, and he was a key figure in the rise of the old education industry in Jianchuan. Chapter 942. In the drizzle, Tang Yan was wearing a windbreaker. He squatted beside the corpse lying on the ground and carefully observed it. This person with the surname Lu had indeed died before the car accident. Captain Tang, Professor Tang, is hospitalized. No one from the forensics team can come over now. Old Qing held a camera and said to Tang Yan, "Do you want junior sister Mu to come over and take a look?" Tang Yan stood up and glared at him. "Do you know that she's almost 8 months pregnant now? Then what should we do? There's only a mother with dementia at home. Without a nurse, how can he leave?" Old Qing sighed. "Why is our branch office so poor? Cut the crap. I'll go report the situation to the chief and send more people. You continue to investigate the scene." Tang Yan took out his phone and dialed a familiar number. Tang Yan stood in the rain. Although someone had given him an umbrella, he needed to remain calm at all times. If not, his heart would be at home. Feng Xianxian was about to give birth. He had once promised Feng Xianxian that he would be by her side when she gave birth. In addition, there was no one else at home. If anything happened to Feng Xianxian, he would never forgive himself for the rest of his life. Therefore he called Muqiqi first. In the middle of the night, the people who answered the phone were naturally men, so Xingzhao's voice was heard. "What's the matter? There's no one at home. Can you bring Xianxian to the banyan courtyard to rest? I'll get fifth aunt to pick her up." Xingzhao answered very straightforwardly. After saying that, Xianxia was about to hang up the phone, but Tang Yan stopped him. Do you know the middle-aged man with the surname Liu? He's a famous person in the education world. I do. Why? Xianxia lowered his voice and asked. He's dead. He was killed. We don't know the cause of death yet. If you know anything, you can tell me. How smart was Tang Yan? What did Yashang Group do? In the education industry in the past 3 months, the entire Jianchuan had witnessed the competition in the education industry. The former well-known education brand had recently made industrial adjustments, which had a huge impact on Yashang Group. 3 months later, the middle-aged man surnamed Liu died here. It was inevitable that people would think about it. After all, they were not curious at all that the Song family would do such a thing. What I know is what you said just now, Xianxia answered calmly because he had been lowering his voice. I understand. Thank you, Chief Sheng. With that, the two of them hung up. Then Xianxia took his phone and went out. Not only did he inform Fifth Aunt, but he also called Shen Jianchuan. Dad, I got the latest news. Elder Liu has gone. After Shen Jianchuan heard the news, he sat up from the bed. When did this happen? Not long ago. I'll go to the Liu family to understand the situation. We'll talk in detail tomorrow. Xianxia put down his phone and went to the living room. 20 minutes later, Fifth Aunt supported the pot-bellied Feng Shanshan into the living room of the banyan courtyard. Fifth Aunt, clean up the guest room. I might have to trouble you to stay here tonight. Xianxia stood by the handrail on the second floor and ordered. All right, Mr. Sheng. Don't worry. Feng Shanshan knew that it was Tang Yan's idea to pick her up, so she did not refuse at all because she could not force herself now. She was due to give birth in a few days and Tang Yan was not at home now. If anything happened to her, no one could call for help. Miss Feng, this way please. Fifth Aunt happily led her to the guest room. Young madam is upstairs. She's sleeping soundly. You should rest early too. If you have abdominal pain, call me immediately. I'll sleep next to you. Fifth Aunt, you can sleep on the bed with me. Feng Shanshan felt a little apologetic. After all, Fifth Aunt was already so old. It's fine. I'm healthy. After Fifth Aunt said that, she carried the quilt to the imperial concubine's couch. Feng Shanshan watched as Fifth Aunt lay down and closed her eyes. However, she could not calm down and rest. She kept feeling that something had happened. She did not know how Tang Yan was doing at the murder scene. The bureau chief called a forensic doctor over for Tang Yan. Although it was already an hour later and the rain was getting heavier, in order to maintain the first scene, the people from the branch office set up a canopy on the spot. The entire road was temporarily sealed off. The female forensic doctor squatted in front of the corpse and observed it for a while. Finally, she told Tang Yan, it was indeed not a car accident. I already have some clues, but I can't come to a conclusion yet. I need to conduct an autopsy. So, after taking photos, send the corpse back to the laboratory. Thank you. Tang Yan did not even know what the other party's name was. He could only thank her briefly and continue investigating the traffic accident. If we want to figure out how this Liu died, we have to figure out his relationship with the driver. Now that the driver died on the spot, Old Qing, give me a copy of the driver's information as soon as possible. Xiaolong, go and get the surveillance footage at the intersection to determine the cause of the car accident and whether it was an accident or man-made. Do these basic tasks for me. And that night he knew that he basically did not need to rest. This was because this person with the surname Liu had been really famous recently. His sudden death would definitely cause rumors to fly everywhere again. If it was really done by their opponent, then the Song family was too brazen. From the incident to the next morning, the process of the car accident, including the identity of the driver, was all figured out. Captain Tang, this driver's name is Li Dong. He's a delivery driver. He's usually responsible for delivering frozen seafood and other ingredients to the mall. From the surveillance footage, the driver suddenly turned and accelerated. That's why he collided with him, and that's why Liu's body was thrown out of the car. From the surveillance footage, his expression was calm and there wasn't a trace of panic. He probably didn't know that a body had been placed in his car. Who would swagger around and drive a van with a body in it, planning to deliver goods to someone else? Old Qing told Tang Yan the information he had collected. The other driver of the car stepped on the accelerator by mistake when he turned the corner, causing him to accelerate. After a comprehensive analysis, the traffic accident was an accident. The driver has nothing to do with the education tycoon surnamed Lu. After Tang Yan heard this, he crossed his arms and said to old Qing, "Continue to the traffic control department and get the footage of the van. See when the body was placed in it. In that case, the traffic accident can be handed over to the traffic police to close the case." Xiaolong was quite happy. At least it was not related to the murder case, so he would have to do less useless work. "I'll go get the autopsy report." Tang Yan looked at his watch and was about to go to the autopsy room when he was stopped by Xiaolong. "Junior sister Xianxia should be giving birth, right? Captain Tang, shouldn't you go back and take a look?" Chapter 943. Then the forensic doctor gave him an answer. This middle-aged man was strangled to death. Look at his neck, the groove is obvious, level, uniform, and there is no sign of emptying. The edge of the groove is neat and the width is similar to that of a belt. Moreover, there are dandruff-like substances on his skin. Combined with the characteristics of his face and the internal bleeding in his ears, this is a very typical death caused by mechanical asphyxia. So, you might have a lot of work to do next. Tang Yan could only shrug helplessly when he received the autopsy report. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Mu Qiqi did not see her man since she woke up. Instead, she saw Feng Xianxian downstairs, who was eating breakfast. He was shocked. Then she understood why Feng Xianxian was here. Tang Yan went out to the field. "He hasn't come back yet." Feng Xianxian pursed her lips and took a sip of milk. "I wonder if he can be by my side when I give birth. He has always been a trustworthy person. He definitely won't go back on his word. Don't worry." After saying that, Mu Qiqi sat down at the dining table with her belly propped up. However, she felt very uneasy not seeing Xianxia. "Looking for your big CEO? He's out." Feng Xianxian saw her uneasiness and quickly answered, "You really can't leave him at all." "None of your business." Mu Qiqi snorted. Then she patted her belly and said, "Why do I feel that I'm 8 months older than you, who are almost 10 months old? I heard from the doctor that it's not easy to give birth when the child is too big." Mu Qiqi punched her. "You're trying to scare me." Feng Xianxian immediately laughed. However, she only laughed a few times before she suddenly felt a wave of pain. Mu Qiqi looked at her rubbing her belly and immediately rolled her eyes. "Stop pretending." Mu Qiqi did not believe in her drama. "I'm really in pain." Feng Xianxian leaned back in pain. It hurts so much." When fifth aunt heard her shout, she immediately rushed out of the kitchen. Mama Sheng followed behind her. When she saw Feng Xianxian's appearance, she immediately said, "Send her to the hospital. She's about to give birth." Mu Qiqi immediately felt nervous. It was as if it was her turn to give birth. Soon the ambulance arrived at the banyan courtyard. Fifth aunt and Mama Sheng followed. Mu Qiqi also wanted to go, but neither of them allowed it. "Just stay at home and wait for the news. It's not convenient for us to take care of you with your big belly." Mu Qiqi struggled for a moment and finally nodded. "Alright, I'll call Captain Tang. He promised Xianxian that he would be by her side when she gives birth." "Okay, don't worry." With that, Mama Sheng and fifth aunt followed her out. Mu Qiqi held her phone and searched for Tang Yan's number. However, the call was always busy. He probably couldn't get away from it. "If you don't answer the phone, you'll miss your son's birth." Mu Qiqi had no choice but to call Xianxia. "Xiao, Xianxian has gone to the hospital. She's probably about to give birth, but I can't get through to Captain Tang. Can you help me inform him?" "I'm having a morning meeting," Xianxia answered. "Alright then." With that, Mu Qiqi hung up the phone. Xianxia took a deep breath and called Su Che in. He instructed him. "Go to the branch office and look for Tang Yan. His son is about to be born." Su Che pointed at his own face in disbelief. Did he need to inform him about such a thing? After thinking for a while, Su Che turned around and immediately went to the parking lot to find his motorcycle. He then drove toward the Jianchuan branch office. In the hospital, Feng Xianxian was immediately sent to the delivery room to be examined by the doctor. However, the doctor only took a glance and said, "The amniotic fluid has broken. Family members don't come in." Fifth aunt and Mama Sheng were not Feng Xianxian's family, so other than Tang Yan, they did not know who else to inform. Feng Xianxian endured the pain brought about by the contractions. There was only one thought in her mind. That man had promised her that he would be by her side when she gave birth. However, he probably couldn't get away from her now. The nurse was in the delivery room making all kinds of preparations. Seeing Feng Xianxian's uneasy expression, she asked her, "Is the husband here? Should I let him in?" Feng Xianxian shook her head. "He can't come. He's a criminal police officer. He took a mission last night." "I see. Then you don't have to feel uneasy. The police are like this. Although they sometimes make us feel wronged, it's not that he doesn't love this family, right?" The nurse comforted her. "I'm also a police wife. I've given birth to 3 children and my husband is catching criminals. However, this doesn't affect our relationship because I know that he has always been worried about me. You're the same. He must be worried about you too. So be strong. It's not a big deal. We'll help you." With the nurse's comfort, Feng Xianxian calmed down a little. "Are you feeling better?" Feng Xianxian nodded. "All mothers are great. You're no exception." Tang Yan had just come out of the Lu family's home. The entire Lu family was in a state of grief, so the deceased son Lu Zichen cooperated with the police to make a statement. In short, the Lu family doesn't know why her husband and father are gone. Xiaolong looked at the statement helplessly. "I'll go to the Lu family's education company again," Tang Yan said. However, when he remembered that Feng Xianxian was still in the Xing family's home, he took the opportunity to call Feng Xianxian. However, Feng Xianxian's phone was in the guest room of the Xing family, so no one answered. Originally, he wanted to call again at another time, but Su Che, who was riding his motorcycle, suddenly stopped in front of him and said, "Your wife is in the hospital." When Tang Yan heard these words, he turned around and left. "Captain Tang? Captain Tang." Xiaolong quickly chased after him. "What's wrong?" "You and old Qing go to the Lu Corporation's company. I'll go to the hospital." After Tang Yan said that, he opened the car door. Xiaolong was stunned for a moment before he understood. This person is going to be a father, right? A single dog is really envious. After Tang Yan drove at full speed, he thought about his promise to Feng Xianxian. He said that he would be there when she gave birth, but now he had no idea that his wife had been sent to the hospital. He blamed himself and his emotions were very complicated. Heartache, guilt, and anticipation came together, making him panic and at a loss for what to do. Soon he saw Mama Xing and fifth aunt at the entrance of the hospital. He quickened his pace and rushed up to them. "Auntie, where is Xianxian? You're finally here." Mama Xing looked at Tang Yan and said, "She's in the delivery room. She's been in there for a while. I don't know what's going on now. Go and ask the doctor if they're allowed to visit." Chapter 944. The doctor glanced at him and refused without thinking. "No, because it's not a separate delivery room, so the family should try to wait outside." "Doctor, just one side. Doctor, just one side. I'm a police officer. I didn't go home last night. My wife is about to give birth in the morning and someone else called me. I'm still on duty, but I promised her that I'll be by her side when she gives birth. If I can't do that, I want to let her know that I'm here, okay?" This was the most sincere request from a man, a husband, and a police officer. After the doctor heard this, he turned around and asked his assistant, "Can you arrange it? After all, no one can reject such a husband." "I'll go ask." The nurse immediately entered the delivery room. A moment later, the nurse walked out again. "You can go in, but you only have 2 minutes. Is that okay?" "Enough." Tang Yan nodded immediately. "Then I'll take you to disinfect and put on sterile clothes." The nurse immediately extended her hand to Tang Yan. "This way, please." Soon Tang Yan changed into sterile clothes and put on a mask. He was only waiting for the nurse to inform him. Finally, he entered the automatic door with an uneasy heart. Behind the door, Feng Xianxian was lying on the bed. Because of the pain, she was already sweating. Tang Yan immediately walked over and lay down in front of her. "I'm here." Before Feng Xianxian could see the man's face clearly, she heard the 2 words. "I'm here." The man's familiar body temperature and scent gradually made Feng Xianxian feel real. She didn't expect him to really come. "Be strong. It's okay. Trust the doctor and nurse. I'll wait for you outside." It wasn't until Tang Yan straightened up that Feng Xianxian saw the man's face clearly. His face was filled with anxiety. He was also very nervous. "Go out. There are other pregnant women here." "I'm fine." Feng Xianxian was satisfied and regained her composure. Because this was not a separate delivery room, they had to care about others. Tang Yan nodded and leaned over to kiss her forehead again. Even if the baby is born, the most important thing in my heart will always be you. After saying that, Tang Yan let go of her hand and turned to leave the delivery room. Everything was worth it. Even if she had to endure the pain of childbirth, even if she had to endure all the hardships, with Tang Yan's words just now, she felt that everything was worth it. Your husband has already done better than most husbands, the doctor said in her ear. Happy pregnant woman, good luck. Outside the door, Tang Yan had already taken off his sterile clothes and stood with Mama Xing and the others. Other than thanking them, he had nothing else to say. You're Jianchuan's godson-in-law, which means you're my godson-in-law. It doesn't matter if it's the Shen family or the Xing family. We also know your situation. You don't have any other relatives at home. You just need to let us take care of her, Mama Xing said to Tang Yan very gently. During this time, Tang Yan's phone rang non-stop. Go and pick it up. Tang Yan's heart was full of Feng Xianxia, so he was a little annoyed when he received a call from the police station. Even when his wife was giving birth, he couldn't have peace. Even so, he still picked up the phone. On the other end of the phone, old Qing reported to him. Captain Tang, I got the surveillance footage from the traffic control department. I know when Lu Zhao's body was moved into the van. Go back to the station first. We'll talk when I come back, Tang Yan replied. Okay. Old Qing hung up. Tang Yan put down his phone. However, a few seconds later someone else called. Tang Yan had no choice but to hang up and call the chief directly. Chief, I'm asking for leave. The murder case is now critical. Why are you asking for leave? You're not allowed to sleep. The chief firmly rejected Tang Yan's request on the other end of the phone. My wife is giving birth. I don't have any relatives by my side. Tang Yan's voice was a little choked. Please take charge of the situation for the time being. The chief was stunned for a few seconds before he calmed down. Stay in the hospital and accompany your wife. I'll handle this. Thank you, Chief. In the banyan courtyard, Mu Qiqi paced back and forth in the living room anxiously. She didn't know if Feng Xianxian had successfully given birth or if Tang Yan had gone to the hospital. She wanted to call Mama Xing, but she didn't want others to be distracted at this critical juncture. However, when it was almost noon, Xianxia returned home from Zhongting, bringing with him a cold wind. Mu Qiqi quickly went over. Why are you back? They're all in the hospital. You need to take care of them too. Xianxia put down his coat and changed into black slippers. Xiao, did Captain Tang go to the hospital? Mu Qiqi chased after him and asked. He's there, so it's not your turn to worry. Xianxia helped her sit down on the sofa. Good. Mu Qiqi finally heaved a sigh of relief. I really can't imagine how painful it will be to give birth. Xianxia turned to look at her and then at her bulging abdomen. It had been 8 months. There were still 2 more months. He should be the one who was nervous. It's not as exaggerated as you think. Don't scare yourself. I don't believe that you won't be nervous when the time comes. Mu Qiqi pierced through the man's calmness and hammered his chest again. After lunch, Mu Qiqi calmed down. Even though she was very anxious, she couldn't resist the sudden sleepiness. She could only go back to her room and lie down. She instructed Xianxia to inform her immediately if there was any news of Feng Xianxian. A moment later, Shen Jianchuan arrived at the Shen family's home. The father-in-law and son-in-law went to the study. I went to the Lu family to find out about the situation. Lu Zhao disappeared after work that night. No one knows where he went. I'm afraid we'll have to wait for the police to investigate. Who will be in charge of the Lu family in the future? Xianxia sat on the chair and continued to ask. His son Lu Zichen. Shen Jianchuan frowned and answered, this kid is very capable. He doesn't lose to his father at all. However, what I'm afraid of is that if this matter has something to do with the Song family, then Lu Zichen might become the Song family's next target. If this matter really has something to do with the Song family, I'll go see him, Xianxia said seriously as he looked at his father-in-law. If this was caused by the Song family, then he was also responsible for Lu Zhao's death. Eighth brother, this has nothing to do with you. That's settled then. Shen Jianchuan nodded and didn't say anything else. After all, this wasn't what he wanted to see. If this was really the Song family's doing, then he had to make the Song family pay with their blood. At 12:30 p.m. With a loud cry, Feng Xianxian and Tang Yan's child was finally born. As Song Qiaoji had expected, it was a little boy. The child was quickly carried out by the nurse. Mama Xing and fifth aunt quickly went up to him. However, Tang Yen kept poking his head into the delivery room because he was most concerned about Feng Xianxian's condition. Chapter 945. Tang Yen nodded, but he still did not look at the child. When Feng Xianxian was pushed out, he quickly went forward. Are you all right? It's been hard on you. Feng Xianxian was too tired. Because it was her first child, it took her a few hours to give birth to this thing. She was surprised and comforted to see Tang Yen. You're a father now. I won't give birth in the future. I don't need any excitement. I just need a child. I don't want to torture you, Tang Yen said as he touched Feng Xianxian's forehead. I'm fine. I'm really fine. Soon, Feng Xianxian was pushed into the ward and the child was placed next to her. Feng Xianxian tilted her head to look at the soft little thing and was very surprised. It was still in her stomach yesterday, but it had already come out today. He had finally come to this world. This was her and Tang Yan's child. Xiao Tang hugged the child and let him familiarize himself with daddy's scent. Mama Xing looked at the child and said happily as if she really had a grandson. I don't know how. Tang Yen was afraid that he would hurt the child if he was too strong. I'll teach you. Feng Xianxian lay on the bed and watched Tang Yen being tortured by Mama Xing and Mama Xing. She felt that the scene was very funny, but at the same time it was also very warm. However, soon the chief called again. It's time to return. Feng Xianxian saw him holding his phone and putting it down again. She knew that he was still on a mission, so she said to him, You can go. There are doctors and nurses here. Fifth aunt and auntie are also here. Are you really fine? The earlier you solve the case, the earlier you can go home and hug your son. Feng Xianxian was not pretentious at all. When they first got together, she knew what kind of man she had followed. Then have a good rest. Remember to call me if there's anything. With that, Tang Yen handed his son to fifth aunt and bowed to Mama Xing and fifth aunt. Sorry to trouble you. Go. Mama Xing waved her hand. When you come back, remember to give your child a nice name. 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Song family. Seeing Lu Zhao's death being broadcasted on the news, Song Jiang watched the television while celebrating with his friends. I want to see who else wants to block the Song family's path to wealth. Old Song, don't forget that he still has a son, Song Jiang's friend reminded him. This person was the Uncle Rong that Song Buji had mentioned. He was ruthless and had no bottom line. Therefore, compared to his biological father, Song Buji was more afraid of Uncle Rong. What's wrong with a son? With you by my side, what's there to be afraid of? Song Jiang didn't think much of it. Have you? I won't even be afraid of Xianxia. You just have to trust me. The man with the surname Rong boasted. As long as it's something that you want to achieve, I will help you achieve it. What about Xianxia? Give me some time. Song Buji was outside the door. When he heard the conversation between the two old men, he did not enter the living room because he felt that he was getting more and more crazy. At the same time, Mu Qiqi was woken up by Xianxia. Their son had been born. Mu Qiqi was very excited to hear that. Then can I go to the hospital to see them tonight? Mu Qiqi's face was full of anticipation. Thinking about it, her best friend had become a mother and she would be the next. Now she had a stomach full of questions waiting to ask Feng Xianxian. However, Xianxia directly rejected her request. But why? Feng Xianxian just gave birth and needs to rest. If you go and chatter, how will others rest? Mu Qiqi was very troubled by this. After she got pregnant, she did talk a lot, but she did not expect this man to dislike her to this extent. I just want to get some encouragement to comfort myself. When I give birth, I don't have to be afraid. Your due date is still more than 2 months away. You can ask at any time. Did something happen outside again? Mu Qiqi suddenly asked Xianxia sensitively. A competitor of Yashang Group died in a van last night. Xianxia did not hide anything from her and told her the truth. After Mu Qiqi heard this, she calmed down. I'm not going, but are you sure it's the Song family's doing? We need Tang Yen to give us an answer. I'll go out in a while. When Dad comes back, you should sleep early. With that, Xianxia got up from the bed. Mu Qiqi suddenly grabbed his arm and asked, How did that person die? Was it the same as by Sini's case? He was strangled to death. It was simple and crude without so much elaborate planning. This meant that the Song family was more direct and disregarded life even more. Okay, go and come back early, but you must bring Su Che with you, Mu Qiqi instructed. She could tell the situation clearly. She could call Feng Xianxian, but she did not have to go out. Don't think too much. There's no conclusion yet. Xianxia saw her ugly expression and reached out to rub her forehead. Go and do your work. Don't worry about me. Mu Qiqi let go of Xianxiao's arm and took out her phone. Since she could not go out, she could only call Feng Xianxian. A pregnant woman and a pregnant woman began to exchange all kinds of experiences on the phone. When Xianxia saw this, he went out with ease. He and Xin Jianchuan were going to the Lu family. The Lu family was in a state of grief. Lu Zhao's wife was still bedridden. The person who came out to welcome the two of them was Lu Zhao's son, Lu Zichen. Lu Zichen had always known that there was someone supporting him, but when he saw Xianxia, he was still a little surprised. I'm sorry about your father's death. What does this have to do with Zhou Xian? When the Lu family was in debt and unable to operate, it was you who helped us from behind. That's why the Lu family is where it is today. If you hadn't helped us at that time, my mother and wife would have died of illness long ago. At that time, my mother and wife were waiting for life-saving money. Lu Zichen did not resent Xianxia at all. My father told me that our opponent this time is very fierce, but he still made this decision to protect our family. So, Zhou Xian, you don't have to feel guilty. This is my father's choice, and it's also the path I will defend, Lu Zichen said firmly and seriously. Although my father is no longer here, his spirit will always remain in my heart. Don't worry, I won't go to extremes. I believe that the police will give us an answer. Moreover, I will never give up on fighting against Yashang Group. That kind of educational institution that disregards human life should not exist in this world. Xianxia felt that it was useless to say anything else at this moment. There were only a few words that were the most powerful. I will give your father justice. Chapter 946. After coming out of the Lu family, Xianxia remained silent. When Xin Jianchuan saw this, he patted his shoulder and said, "Eighth brother, you're not a god. There's no need for you to bear such a heavy burden. No, I'm just thinking about something. This time the Song family's way of doing things is very different from before. I suspect that Song Jiang has recruited some extreme helpers," Xianxia answered Xin Jianchuan seriously after getting into the car. It's only been quiet for 3 months. If Song Jiang really uses an even more extreme method to make a comeback, I wonder how many people will suffer. The Xin family doesn't matter, but I'm afraid that a good person like Lu Zhao will be implicated. Therefore Xin Jianchuan frowned deeply and looked at Xianxia. Eighth brother, we have to be heavy-handed. Xianxia nodded slightly. It seemed that using time to deal with the Song family was not going to work. I'll see the results of Tang Yan's case first. The two of them left the Lu family and returned home. Xianxia did not expect Mu Qiqi to still be waiting at home. Why aren't you sleeping yet? Are you going to meet the family of the deceased? Mu Qiqi sat on the bed and asked Xianxia. Xianxia stopped taking off his trench coat. After a second he nodded. It's not a good thing to be too smart. You've already made it so clear in the afternoon. If I still can't tell, I'll have been your woman for so long. Do you have any leads on the murderer? Mu Qiqi lifted the blanket and wanted to get out of bed, but Xianxia stopped her. It's cold down there. My body is mine. I know if it's cold or not. Xianxia did not stop her. He sat down on the sofa and replied, waiting for news from Tang Yan. Then hurry up and take a shower. Your body is cold. I don't even want to hug you. Mu Qiqi stood in the distance in disgust. Xianxia got up and walked to the bathroom. Mu Qiqi took the opportunity to call Tang Yan. On the phone, Tang Yan sounded very tired. He had not rested since last night. It was because the higher-ups were in a hurry to solve the case. Captain Tang, what's the situation now? When Tang Yan heard Mu Qiqi's voice, he thought that he had heard wrongly. He took out his phone and looked at the number again. After confirming that it was Mu Qiqi's, he said, other than knowing that the body was dumped from a small alley, there is no other progress. The alley leads to rows of demolished houses, and there are no surveillance cameras along the way. The person who dumped the body was a man in his 40s wearing a mask and a hat. Other than that, there is no other information. Where's the corpse? The cause of death was asphyxiation. There were no other injuries on the body. The tool used was a belt, but we've already checked it. The murderer must have grabbed such a tool as an aid because it contained a lot of bacteria and not sweat. We have to find out. Mu Qiqi was a little anxious. Can I see the body? Your family members will agree to it? Mu Qiqi was about to answer when Xianxia snatched her phone away. However, Xianxia answered Tang Yan directly, I don't agree. You believe in my professionalism. I want to help you. No, I want to help myself. I want to help the Shin family. Xianxia looked down at her and finally answered Tang Yan, I'll send her to the branch office in half an hour. Then he returned the phone to Mu Qiqi. You can always get yourself involved in all kinds of dangerous situations. What if I really help Captain Tang? Xianxia took the opportunity to hold Mu Qiqi's neck and snorted. I'll call you Daddy. It's a deal. A few minutes later, the two of them packed up and went downstairs. For safety reasons, Xianxia did not let Su Che get off work. He even had to be their driver. Mu Qiqi saw Su Che yawning in the rearview mirror. She tugged at Xiao's arm. Xiao, have you been enslaving Su Che for too long every day? Xiao glanced at the back of Su Che's head and said lightly, I'll give you a day off tomorrow. Have a good rest. When Su Che heard that he was taking a day off, he immediately became energetic. Mu Qiqi couldn't help but laugh when she saw that. She asked, what do you do during the holidays? Su Che thought about it. Ever since he started following Xiao, he rarely had free time. Even in the middle of the night, he was called by Xiao to be his driver. A blind date. My uncle arranged a blind date for me. Mu Qiqi smiled even more happily and poked Xiao's chest. You should at least care about your subordinates' physical and mental harmony. Xiao frowned. Did he need it? Soon the three of them arrived at the branch office. At that time, old Qing was waiting at the door. When he saw Mu Qiqi, he immediately beamed. You're finally here. Where's the professor? Mu Qiqi followed old Qing and walked quickly to the autopsy room. The professor is performing gallstone surgery. The forensics department has lost its backbone. The chief even transferred a female forensic doctor over from outside, but I always feel that her work is not as meticulous as yours. Where's Captain Tang? Mu Qiqi continued to ask. He's in a meeting. Thinking about it, he's really miserable. He just became a father today and he can't stay at home with his wife and child. He still has to waste his time here. I feel so wronged, old Qing explained as he opened the door for her. Are you okay? I'm strong. Mu Qiqi made a gesture to show off her muscles. Then she walked to the dissection table. Old Qing, you go out first. It's fine as long as you're not afraid. Old Qing was a big man, but even he felt creeped out by staying in such a place. Hurry up and go out. Mu Qiqi was already chasing him away. Old Qing walked out of the autopsy room and saw Xiao and Su Che sitting in the lounge. He naturally respected these two people very much. He quickly greeted them and went to the meeting room. Qiqi is here? Tang Yan asked as he flipped through the information. Yes, she chased me out the moment she arrived. Old Qing shrugged. Tang Yan lowered his head again and muttered, I hope she can give me something different and open up my mind. He definitely can. I've never seen anyone more meticulous than little junior sister. In terms of professionalism, everyone recognized Mu Qiqi. Although she was only a student and had even dropped out of school, the experience she had accumulated over the past year had also allowed people to see her strengths. Of course, she could not find another flower in the autopsy, but she could see a lot of things that others could not. Piao Xing is outside. Captain Tang, do you want to go and greet him? Tang Yan put down the information in his hand and walked to the lounge. When he saw Xiao sitting on the sofa, he asked, How much does Piao Xing know about the Liu family? It's a veteran education company that has risen in the past 3 months. I supported it, Xiao answered without hesitation. To fight against Yashang Group. Chapter 947. What right do you have to educate me? I'm a father today. There was a hint of pride in Tang Yan's expression. Xiao just couldn't surpass him in this regard. He had no choice. Solve the case as soon as possible. Don't always drag my cheer out to help. The two men were sitting in the lounge chatting when old Qing suddenly called out to Tang Yan. Captain Tang, Qiqi found something. When Tang Yan heard that, he immediately got up from the sofa. That's why I dragged her here. After saying that, Tang Yan quickly walked toward the autopsy room. What did you find? Mu Qiqi took off the button on Lu Zhao's shirt and handed it to Tang Yan. Take a closer look. Tang Yen took a magnifying glass and immediately found that there were many scratches on the blue button. This is the second button on Lu Zhao's suit. In other words, it's about his abdomen. Because Lu Zhao has a beer belly, the scratches on this button are very deep while the scratches on the other buttons are very shallow. I think the forensic doctor probably thought that these scratches were the lines on the button. But Captain Tang, turn it over and take a look. Tang Yen flipped the button and found that there was some powder around the black thread. What is this? This isn't an ordinary latex paint. It's a new type of environmentally friendly decoration material, diatomaceous mud. Mu Qiqi explained as she supported herself on the autopsy table. This kind of paint originally came from diatomaceous earth. It's deposited from a type of diatomaceous algae in the ocean. It's pure, natural and pollution-free. Now, whether it's home decoration or work equipment, it's widely used. Of course, this kind of thing also has a characteristic, and that is that it's expensive. Ordinary families probably don't know much about this kind of material, or they can't afford to use it. Diatomaceous mud. Tang Yen muttered. In addition, I carefully tested the composition of Lu Zhao's clothes and found traces of diatomaceous mud, but only a small amount. Mu Qiqi handed the clothes to Tang Yen and said, so, according to my analysis, Lu Zhao was pressed against a wall decorated with diatomaceous mud and strangled from behind. In other words, there must be traces of friction between the button and the wall on that wall. After listening to Mu Qiqi's analysis, Tang Yen immediately thought of the information they already had. If you enter the alley, it's a demolished house that has already been vacated. Old Qing immediately informed the entire team to check the entire demolition house area at the back of the alley. Once you find a wall decorated with diatom mud, immediately mark it because that might be the first scene. When Old Qing heard that, he was instantly very excited. As expected, junior sister Qiqi, I'll give you a thumbs up. Tang Yen heaved a sigh of relief. I feel like we'll get a lot of rewards if we go there. Qiqi, you've done something good again. Let's talk about it after we find it. I'm just curious why someone of Lu Zhao's status would go to such a place. Mu Qiqi raised her doubts. However, I believe that once we find the first scene, many mysteries will be easily solved. Go back and rest. Tang Yen patted her shoulder. Mu Qiqi nodded, took off her gloves and put them by the sink. I'll go see Xianxia later. I've let them down. I believe Xianxia won't blame you. After saying that, Mu Qiqi walked out of the autopsy room and returned to Xing Zhao's side. She stuck out her belly and whispered into his ear, I'll wait for you to call me daddy. Xing Zhao looked at the little one's expression and knew that she had gained something. Therefore, he did not care about the occasion and seductively whispered 2 words into the little one's ear, Daddy. Mu Qiqi's face instantly turned red. Her ears were red and perky and it was so numb that it gave people goosebumps. Are you satisfied? Mu Qiqi was afraid that others would see her blush, so she quickly grabbed Xing Zhao's hand and said, Let's go. Send me to the hospital. Since she was already out, she could take the opportunity to see the pregnant woman. Moreover, Mama Xing and Fifth Aunt were in the hospital now, but her friend was hers. She felt very sorry. Xing Zhao hugged her and looked at the little one with a gentle smile. It seemed that he really could not underestimate this little one's ability. Soon the police were dispatched. Tang Yen personally led the team and went to the pitch-black demolition house at 10 o'clock in the night. Without any results, no one could rest that night. Mu Qiqi also arrived at the hospital with Xing Zhao accompanying her. In the ward, Feng Xianxian was feeding the baby, so Xing Zhao was waiting outside the door. Feng Xianxian was a little surprised to see Mu Qiqi. What time is it? Aren't you sleeping? I've already unloaded the goods. It's still early for you. You're not obedient. I went to the forensics laboratory, so I came to see you. Mu Qiqi leaned over and saw the babbling little baby in her arms. She was instantly confused by how cute he was. Isn't he too cute? Has he been named? Tang Yen hasn't had the time to name him. At this point, Feng Xianxian could not hide her disappointment. But after a moment she adjusted herself. It's okay. He should be resting tomorrow, right? He will definitely be able to rest tomorrow. Mu Qiqi pinched the little baby's face and did not dare to be too harsh. I really envy you. You've already passed this hurdle. I still have to wait for 2 more months. It's not as scary as you think. By the way, call Auntie and Fifth Aunt back. There are doctors and nurses here. Tang Yan's aunt is also here. Okay, Fifth Aunt will come and help tomorrow. After Mu Qiqi said that, she pinched the little fatty's face again. He's really too obedient. Yours will be coming soon. You don't have to envy me. Mu Qiqi looked down at her abdomen and smiled. Then have a good rest tonight. It's almost time for me to leave. Let's go. A woman who had given birth looked different. It was as if she had transformed in an instant. Mu Qiqi looked at Xianxia and thought of herself in the near future. Perhaps it would be the same. Xianxia was still waiting at the door. Mu Qiqi quickly got up and walked to the door. Master Xiao, let's go. It's just that their baby is too obedient. I'm so envious. Master Xiao hugged her shoulder and snorted. He's not as obedient as us. On the other side, Tang Yan's team was still working on the case. Just when everyone was exhausted, Officer Long suddenly shouted, Captain Tang, is this the diatom mud? The house in front was a 3-bedroom house. Everyone looked at the flashlight and then saw the yellow decorative wall. From now on, don't touch anything inside. Old Qing informed the forensics team to move out. That's great. We can sleep tonight. Old Qing sighed happily. What sleep? If the forensics team can't confirm that this is the place we're looking for, we have to continue. Tang Yan rubbed the space between his eyebrows and was a little irritated. I'll definitely find this murderer. I'll let him go to heaven or hell. Chapter 948. Due to the lack of manpower in the forensics department, the chief borrowed a group of people from another team. Everyone started working in the middle of the night and started a detective investigation in the 3-bedroom house. In a short while they made a new discovery. Captain Tang, is this the mark you're looking for? The mark of the friction of a button? At the entrance, the forensic doctor found some suspicious scratches. Tang Yan bent down to take a look with the flashlight and then heaved a sigh of relief. This is the first scene. Everyone, don't destroy anything at the scene now. Captain Tang, there's a new discovery. There were footprints in the bathroom. Extract physical evidence and test the luminol reaction. As long as there was a breakthrough, the possibility of solving the case would be very high. Everyone busied themselves in the demolition house for another 2 hours. Finally, all the physical evidence was collected. After that, the group of people left the demolition house. Tang Yan walked at the front and said to the field team, Old Qing, bring the physical evidence back. Test what needs to be tested and verify what needs to be verified. We'll have a meeting at 7 tomorrow morning. The rest of you change shifts and rest. Got it, Captain Tang. Song Jiang would never have thought that Tang Yan would find a lot of evidence this time. He would not allow him to fool around like he did with Bai Sini's cases. 3 o'clock in the morning. Tang Yan drove to the hospital. He thought that Xianxia and the baby would be asleep. However, through the glass of the ward, Tang Yan saw that Xianxia was still breastfeeding the baby. She leaned against the wall with her head tilted tiredly. It was obvious that she was extremely sleepy. No one told him that it was not just hard for a woman to be pregnant. After giving birth, she thought that she would not be tortured anymore. In fact, this was the beginning of the torture. A newborn child had to drink milk every few hours. Although the mother's milk was swollen, she could still suck it out to store it. However, the baby was so young. As a biological mother, the mother could not abandon it. Tang Yan looked at it for a while, gently pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing that Xianxia showed no signs of waking up, he reached out to support Xianxia's head. The little thing in her arms might have seen its father appear, so it forgot to drink milk. It opened its eyes wide and looked at Tang Yan. Suddenly, the pain in her chest disappeared. Xianxia opened her eyes with difficulty. Seeing that Tang Yan was right in front of her, she tried to adjust her posture. Are you done? I've already talked to the nurse and found a responsible confinement nanny for you. She'll come to help you tomorrow. Tang Yan combed Xianxia's hair and said, I gained a lot tonight, so I can rest for now. I have a meeting at 7 tomorrow morning. Then sleep for a while. Xianxia knew that this man had not rested for 2 days. He worked day and night to solve the case, but he still had to worry about the mother and son. Thinking about it, Xianxia did not feel good. I'm not tired. Let me hold the baby for a while. You can sleep for a while. Tang Yan looked at the little guy in Xianxia's arms and said, You haven't named it yet. Uncle told me that when naming a child you have to look at the layout. Yishuan, Tang Yishuan. Tang Yan carefully took the child from Xianxia's arms. Such a small ball was the crystallization of him and Feng Xianxian. Go to sleep for a while. Then I'll sleep for an hour and then you. Feng Xianxian lay down. Tang Yan nodded and gently rocked the child to coax him. After Feng Xianxian fell asleep, he put the baby down. He placed it between him and Feng Xianxian. In fact, Feng Xianxian was not really asleep. She secretly opened her eyes and saw Tang Yan leaning against the head of the bed. He had fallen asleep just like that and he was sleeping very soundly. He was clearly extremely tired, but he still had to think about the mother and son. Thinking about it, Feng Xianxian's eyes suddenly turned red. Everything was worth it. The next morning, Tang Yan waited until the confinement nanny came before leaving. When he arrived at the station, all the clues found in the demolition house last night were put together. The group of people quickly entered the meeting room as if they were on steroids. Captain Tang, according to the test report, the friction marks left on the diatom mud wall were indeed caused by the buttons on Lu Zhao's body. The test results are consistent. Officer Long was the first to speak. So, the demolition house is the first crime scene. At the crime scene we found a total of 3 sets of footprints. We took them to compare. One of them was a shoe size 40 which matched Lu Zhao's. The other was a shoe size 36, which was a woman's footprint. The last shoe size 42 should have been left by the murderer. In addition, we also found the murder weapon in the trash at the scene. It was a man's belt with the deceased's fingerprints on it. The most important thing is this. Old Qing took out an evidence bag and handed it to Tang Yan. This cigarette butt was found behind the trash can in the bathroom. We went to find out about the owner of the house. The owner is a woman and doesn't smoke. Moreover, this cigarette butt is still fresh, so we suspect that it might have been left behind by the murderer. The DNA on it is still being tested. Okay, now increase the intensity of the investigation. According to the shoe size, Old Qing, go and ask the people around to see if anyone has seen a man who is about 170 to 180 centimeters tall, weighs about 65 kilograms and is wearing a mask. Xiao Long continued to lead the team to the demolition house. With the first scene as the center, see if there are any traces of the murderer around. At the meeting, Tang Yan assigned tasks. I'll go visit the nearby tobacco and wine shops and see if the bosses still remember someone who came to buy this kind of cigarette. He believed that as long as there was a direction to investigate, the truth would only get closer and closer. On this day there were several invitations on Xing Zhao's desk. Because it was almost the end of the year, there were more and more banquets at the Chamber of Commerce. He would attend a few of his friends' banquets, but the Song family might also attend. Thinking of this, Xianxia stopped his work and called Tang Yan to ask about the progress. How's it going now? I've already caught the murderer's feet. If you need any help, just let me know. Now, Xianxia was helping the Lu family stabilize the situation. Because Lu Zhao was no longer around, Lu Zichen still needed time to adapt to taking over. However, he also understood the fierce gaze the Song family had on Lu Zichen. If the Song family wanted to eliminate the roots, then the murderer who killed Lu Zhao might commit another crime and take Lu Zichen's life. Therefore Xianxia got someone to follow Lu Zichen. In the evening, Xianxia attended a friend's banquet. He did not bring any female companions with him. During the banquet he also saw Song Buji. Chapter 949. Xiao Xing is leaving just like that? Xianxia adjusted his black coat and did not reply to Song Buji. How did I offend Xiao Xing again? I just want to communicate with people. After all, I can't compare to your Song family's madness. You know better than me why Lu Zhao died. Don't you think it's boring to turn Jianchuan into a bloody mess? Xianxia asked Song Buji. If you play with human lives, you have to pay the price with human lives. However, I don't think the lives of the Song family are that valuable. I hope your Song family can afford the result of your madness. With that, Xianxia walked around Song Buji and left with Su Che. As expected, Song Buji looked at Xingxiao's back and sneered. It was difficult for the Song family's little tricks to hide from Xingxiao, let alone such a big commotion this time. Song Buji looked at Xingxiao's back as he left with a meaningful gaze. In the past, Song Jiang had been extremely secretive and planned with those women. But now he was so brazen that everyone knew that it was the Song family who had done it. This was probably what people said. If God wanted to destroy a person, he would first make him crazy. According to Song Jiang's way of playing, his cards would not be enough to play for 2 or 3 years. With Xianxia's opponents jumping around, the more calm he was, the more likely it would not be long before Song Buji felt that he would have to collect his father's corpse. After the cocktail party ended, Song Buji received news that Zhongting fully supported the Lu family's development. Moreover, Xianxia directly said that he would protect Lu Zichen. This was the first time Xianxia had responded to the Song family's provocations so many times. And the moment he responded, he revealed a big piece of news. This was because Xianxia was hinting that Lu Zhao's death was related to the Song family. Thinking about the lives of Chongrong Electronics, the outside world had a tacit understanding. The Song family was definitely not a decent businessman because it involved human lives. Lu Zichen was placed in the spotlight just like that. Who else would dare to make a move? Xianxia did not believe it. Song Jiang quickly received the news. Previously, the Song family had provoked him so much, but Xianxia did not express anything on the surface. Therefore, Song Jiang had always been testing Xianxia's bottom line. This time, Xianxia had directly expressed his stance. He could not do anything to Xianxia for a while. No, it was not the first time he had run into a wall in front of Xianxia. Old Rong, it looks like we won't be able to touch the rest of the Lu clan for a while, right? No, we have to move to prove that this has nothing to do with us. The man sitting next to Song Jiang had a deep smile on his face. The police are investigating very closely. However, even if they find out, it's useless because I've already found a scapegoat. The older, the wiser. Song Jiang was very satisfied with this result. This time, Song Buji was still outside the door listening to the two old things' crazy discussion. However, this time Song Jiang noticed the shadow on the ground. Buji, why are you standing at the door? Come in. After Song Buji heard this, he walked in and showed a rare respect. Dad, Uncle Rong. Buji, you're your father's hope. Cheer up. Don't be afraid. Uncle Rong is planning everything for you. Song Buji was indeed playful and ruthless. However, he felt that the two of them had been playing with fire recently. Right now he was thinking about whether he should protect himself or not. What did the hatred from more than 20 years ago have to do with him? Dad, I think you're too impatient. Right now the whole city is pointing at the Song family. Shouldn't we not expose ourselves so thoroughly? What do you know, child? This way we can deter those who don't obey us. At the same time, we can also see how many people are willing to stand on our Song family's side. Song Buji almost rolled his eyes. This was already a society ruled by law. They could still wander in the gray area by doing dirty things behind their backs. Why were they so brazen now? No wonder the Song family was about to be wiped out 25 years ago. Child, with your Uncle Rong here, just wait for the show. Since the two of them were so stubborn, he wouldn't be the lobbyist. Although he was the one who suggested inviting Uncle Rong back, he deeply felt that power had changed people beyond recognition. Tang Yan's side had made great progress. After the efforts of several parties, they had successfully locked onto the suspect. He was a single man in his early 40s. However, at the same time, Feng Xianxian stayed in the hospital and felt that someone was watching her. After all, she had been a forensic assistant for a long time. Feng Xianxian had this sensitivity. She was afraid that someone was seeking revenge, so she called Tang Yan. The person who was seeking revenge had already been killed on the spot. If he could still appear around Feng Xianxian, he might be the murderer of the Lu Zhao case. Therefore, Tang Yan immediately sent Xiaolong over to guard Feng Xianxian's ward in plain clothes. After Xiaolong was in place, Feng Xianxian was relieved and took care of the baby in peace. This was a hospital and people came and went. Even at night there were many doctors and nurses. She was rarely alone. If this person was here to seek revenge on Tang Yan, then it would be even better. At least this person would not stab Tang Yan when he was handling the case. Xiaolong could tell that Feng Xianxian was very brave. As the wife of a police officer, she was very conscious. At night, Tang Yan went to take over Xiaolong's shift. When he saw his wife and child, he hugged them tightly. I will do my best to protect you and your child. I'm not afraid, Feng Xianxian replied. Feng Xianxian replied, I've long been prepared to face danger when I'm with you. But you know that I don't like to be threatened. So, when the time comes, no matter what choice I make, you have to believe me. Of course, I hope that I'll never meet such a day. We'll go home tomorrow. Tang Yan kissed Feng Xianxian's forehead. I'll be more at ease with you at home. Got it. Go and do your work. You really don't have to worry about me. Tang Yen glanced at Xianxia and kissed his son's head. Then he told the confinement nanny to take good care of Xianxia. After leaving the hospital, Tang Yen went straight to the hospital's surveillance cameras. He wanted to confirm if the murderer had really appeared around the hospital. However, he did not expect to find the man wearing a mask in the hospital's surveillance cameras. When Xiaolong saw it, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. To think that junior sister Xianxia was so calm. Is the murderer here to show off? Is he really not afraid of being caught? Because of Xiaolong's words, Tang Yen suddenly frowned. Throwing the body in the van was a provocative act in itself. Now that the murderer had openly appeared here, other than provocation, there was another possibility. It was to divert the police's attention. Chapter 950. That woman with size 36 shoes. She was the real murderer and everything else was set up by someone. In addition to diverting the police's attention, it was also to stall for time. This way the murderer could achieve his goal of toying with the police. Xiaolong continued to guard here and protect Xianxia. I'll go back to the station first. Tang Yen suddenly turned to Xiaolong. But Captain Tang, I'm afraid. I can't protect junior sister Xianxia. You just need to make sure that strangers can't get close to the ward. Pretend that you don't know that the suspect is around. After Tang Yen said that, he patted Xiaolong's shoulder. I'll go find the real murderer. Captain Tang, are you saying that this man isn't the real murderer? Tang Yen did not say anything and left the hospital as fast as he could. When he returned to the station, he called Mu Qiqi. Qiqi, I have something very important to ask you now. How tall is Lu Zhao? About 170 centimeters. But the strangulation marks on his neck are slanted from the center of his neck to both sides. What does this mean? The murderer isn't as tall as the deceased, Mu Qiqi answered seriously. But we can't rule out the possibility that the murderer might have set up a trap because such an injury is easy to fake. At the first scene, we also found a set of footprints of a woman. She was between 145 and 160 centimeters tall. Tang Yen explained the reason for his question. After Mu Qiqi heard this, she quickly continued. Lu Zhao is a man. Although he's already middle-aged, he's still healthy. To strangle him to death without any struggle, we didn't consider a woman, but we can't rule out the possibility that the woman is a fitness enthusiast, or that she knows boxing and fighting skills. My suggestion is, Captain Tang, you can go to the scene again. With a new perspective, you will definitely gain a lot. Of course, if you can bring me along, that would be even better. When Tang Yen heard her last sentence, he rejected it without thinking. Your family will never agree this time. Mu Qiqi put down her phone and secretly looked at Xiao, who was sitting at the side reading documents. He was serious and had no intention of looking at her at all. He was busy. Xiao, Captain Tang has something to tell you. Mu Qiqi took the opportunity to throw the problem to Tang Yen. Xiao looked up at Mu Qiqi. Instead of answering the call, he asked her directly, do you think I'm deaf? I heard everything you said just now. Mu Qiqi was stunned for a moment. She felt that she was really stupid when she was pregnant. There are new developments in the case. You also want to solve Lu Zhao's case as soon as possible, right? You're 8 months pregnant. With you and Captain Tang here. Mu Qiqi said seriously, it's not that I have to work on this case, but I want to contribute. The Song family is now attacking the people around us. Soon it will be our turn. Xiao put down the document, crossed his legs and looked at her. After a few seconds of silence, he reached out to Mu Qiqi. Give me your phone. Mu Qiqi obediently handed the phone over. Xiao got up and walked to the window to talk to Tang Yen for a while. Then he returned to his seat and returned the phone to Mu Qiqi. Don't force yourself. Never. Mu Qiqi raised her hand and swore. However, Xiao did not believe her at all. It's really useless to see you swear. Even so, Xiao still brought Mu Qiqi, who was wrapped tightly, out the door. On the way, Mu Qiqi looked at Xiao's side profile. His eyes flickered in the mottled light. Although you didn't say anything, I know that you've taken responsibility for Lu Zhao's death. In your heart, you want to catch this murderer as soon as possible and give the Lu family justice more than anyone else. Your public statement in support of the Lu family is the best evidence. Xiao, I don't have to put myself in danger. I just feel that I can really help with this matter. That's why I asked you to bring me out. This is my domain. Let me protect you. Is that okay? After hearing Muqiqi's words, Xianxia suddenly laughed. Then you have to protect me, you little thing who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're looking down on me. Regardless of whether Muqiqi had the ability to do so or not, Xianxia felt that the fact that she could say such words had convinced him. Soon the three of them gathered at the scene of the murder. As they were in a demolition building, there was no electricity, so Tang Yan prepared a flashlight for the two of them. It's very messy here. Please protect Muqiqi well. Don't fall, Tang Yan reminded him. Everyone in Jianchuan knew how precious this person was. If anything happened to him here, Tang Yan felt that he probably wouldn't be able to live anymore. Xianxia supported Muqiqi, and Muqiqi was also very careful. From the moment she entered the crime scene, she had been very cautious. She had been listening attentively to Tang Yan's description of what had happened on the wall. This is the place where Lu Zhao died. Muqiqi squatted down with Xianxiao's support and carefully observed her surroundings. What are you looking for? If it's really as you said and a woman was involved in this case, then under such intense movements her hair should have fallen off. Muqiqi picked up a long red hair from the ground. Have the forensics team confirmed it? Of course they've confirmed it. This hair belongs to the original owner of this house. After Muqiqi heard this, she stood up with Xianxiao's help. Master Xiao, help me walk around. The two of them wandered around the house with the flashlight. Muqiqi did not even let go of the few bedrooms. When the original owner moved, he didn't seem to have taken anything with him. There are still so many clothes here. As she said this, Muqiqi stood in front of the wooden wardrobe. After saying this, Muqiqi took down one of the clothes and smelled it carefully. It smelled of mold. Of course, there was also a hint of perfume. Muqiqi took another one and found that there was only a moldy smell on it. Captain Tang, when did the original owner move away? Muqiqi suddenly asked sensitively. 4 months ago, Tang Yan answered from outside. There's something wrong with this clothes. Muqiqi handed a beige windbreaker to Tang Yan. See if you can extract anything important from it. What's the problem? There's the smell of perfume in the clothes, Muqiqi reminded him. Did the original owner leave it behind? Tang Yan took the windbreaker and put it in front of his nose to sniff it. You men don't use perfume, so you don't know much about perfume. No matter how famous a perfume is, it will only stay on clothes for about 5 days at most. Moreover, other clothes have a moldy smell. Only this one has a fragrance. It's been 2 days and 3 nights since the crime happened. It's the lingering period of the high-grade perfume. It can be seen that during the period when Lu Zhao was killed, a woman who liked to wear perfume had worn this clothes. This fragrance is the lingering smell on the clothes. Muqiqi explained to Tang Yan. Chapter 951. I'm afraid I'll have to find an expert. Muqiqi shook her head. That was all she knew about perfume. After all, she didn't need anything else other than perfume to remove the smell. I'll go and get the surveillance footage from the nearby area again and visit the residents nearby to see if they've seen a woman wearing this dress and walking around. Or rather, I can get the surveillance footage of Lu Zhao being carried into the van and look at it again. Because of this dress, Tang Yan had a new direction to investigate the case. Leave the perfume to me, Xianxia, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said to the two of them. Muqiqi and Tang Yan suddenly turned their heads and looked at Xianxia together. Xianxia continued, I'll give you an accurate answer tomorrow morning. Then I'll have to trouble you, Wuxia. But in order to ensure the integrity of the physical evidence, I'll send someone to your research department later to investigate with your people. Tang Yan knew that Xianxia had an independent research department that covered a wide range of fields. One of the important reasons was to meet Muqiqi's needs before deciding whether to mass-produce it. Tomorrow let's unveil the real murderer. The three of them searched the house carefully for a long time. Finally, when they finally left, Tang Yan asked Xianxia before he got into the car, Zhou Xian, how confident are you that the Song family did this? We'll know if there are any new faces around Songjiang recently. I'll send someone to figure this out. You just have to investigate the Lu Zhao case, Xianxia replied to Tang Yan. Tang Yan put his hands on his waist and nodded in the direction Xianxia had left. He could feel the anger from Xianxiao's body. It seemed that the Song family had really stepped on his bottom line. After Xianxia got into the car, Muqiqi quickly asked him for credit. I said that I'm useful, right? So it's definitely right for you to let me participate. Xianxia tilted his head to look at her and pushed her head. It's time to go home and sleep. Is it so hard to praise me? Mu Qiqi mumbled. It was too much. When Xianxia heard her complaint, he finally rubbed her head. Your Captain Tang can't do without you anymore. Haven't you noticed? That's the biggest compliment I can give you. It's useless if he can't live without me. I have to give birth to the baby first. I only hope that we can solve Lu Zhao's case as soon as possible. That way you'll feel much better. Without another word, Xianxia drove away with Mu Qiqi. After returning home, he immediately informed the people in the scientific research department to cooperate with the police to extract the fragrance from the clothes as soon as possible. He also wanted to know the brand and origin of the perfume. As for the insides of the clothes, they absolutely could not be touched, because there might be biological traces of the woman left on them, such as skin or hair, which could be used to extract DNA. The people Tang Yen sent knew how to protect the physical evidence. The scientific research department had done an examination and had to immediately send it to the police station for further tests by the forensic doctor. Xianxia had promised a whole morning, but before the sun rose, stay up late had already come to a conclusion in the research department. He also found a sample of the perfume and asked the police to bring it back to the police station. The name of this perfume is Hypnotize Poison. It's a legendary perfume launched by Dior in 1998, Red Poison. Tang Yen read the detailed explanation left by the people from Zhongting's research department. A female murderer wearing designer perfume? Tang Yen thought about it and felt that it was too interesting. He took the sample of the perfume and sniffed it. He felt that the smell was very special and a little pungent. It wasn't a problem with the perfume, but the man was too straight. However, for now, the use of the perfume had to be put aside. That was because he was checking the surveillance cameras at various intersections. Most importantly, he was repeatedly watching the video of Lu Zhao being carried into the van. He had watched the entire scene more than 10 times. Originally, he had planned to give up, but the shadow on the glass door of the convenience store made Tang Yen press the pause button. Then he zoomed in infinitely and found that when the van driver was settling the bill with the owner of the store, the woman who was buying cigarettes was standing beside them. She had long hair and was wearing a beige trench coat. It was the one that Mu Qiqi had grabbed. Then the van driver went out and drove away. A moment later, the woman also left the convenience store with a mask on. Old Qing, think of a way to verify this woman's identity. Tang Yen pointed at the sleepy old Qing and instructed. Old Qing took a look and his eyes widened. Boss, who is this? The murderer of Lu Zhao's case. Woman. Old Qing was in disbelief. She has an accomplice. Old Qing looked at the trench coat beside Tang Yen and knew that he was already confident. He immediately perked up and sat down in front of the computer. Captain Tang, give me some time. At that moment, Tang Yen was in the branch office, racing against time to solve the case. The Song family was also planning to make a move again. This time, their target was Lu Zhao's daughter-in-law and grandson because women and children were the easiest to deal with. This could also destroy Lu Zichen's determination to move forward. Song Jiang and Uncle Rong were discussing in the study. At this moment, Song Buji also found out that Uncle Rong had a very fierce gang in his hands that specialized in dealing with difficulties for the rich. This was why Uncle Rong had come head-on. It was simple and crude, not giving people a chance to react. The two old men were discussing in the study while Song Buji sat in his office, watching the surveillance cameras. The police were trying to unravel the truth and these two lunatics were plotting a murder case. Did they really think that Tang Yen and Xianxia were dead? The old man used to have some concerns, but now that Uncle Rong was back he had completely lost his mind. In order not to be dragged down by the old man, Song Buji felt that it was necessary for him to keep a hand up his sleeve just in case. It was beautiful to play games with Xianxia and Mu Qiqi, but he did not want to completely involve himself in it. The next morning, Mu Qiqi got up and heard from Xianxia that the Lu family would go to the branch office to retrieve Lu Zhao's body and arrange for the cremation. I'll go and comfort the Lu family on your behalf. Mu Qiqi got up as well. Although you've already been there, I've also seen Lu Zhao's body. I think they'll be more at ease if I go and comfort them. Xianxia turned around from the mirror and glanced at Mu Qiqi. He did not refute her suggestion. Wear something thicker, big-bellied woman. Mu Qiqi was very unhappy when she heard that. There are two of me. Chapter 952. In the future, no one will sacrifice themselves in front of me. Although Xianxia was saying this to Muqiqi, it was more like he was swearing to himself. Muqiqi put on her shoes and stood up. Looking at the man who was becoming more and more responsible, she couldn't help but feel sorry for him. It's the Xin family that implicated you. If I was afraid that you would be implicated, I wouldn't have accepted your secret love. You're bringing this up again. Muqiqi quickly covered her face. Can't you leave me some face? Xianxia stood up and curled his lips. His tall figure had become even taller and more burly because of his responsibility. He looked more mature and reliable. Sco. After breakfast, it was 8:15 am on Old Cheng's side. It took him an hour to finally find some clues. Captain Tang, do you think it's this woman? Her name is Xin Mei, a Singaporean. She was imprisoned for 7 years for theft and intentional assault. She was released from prison last year and disappeared. I don't know who she's working for now. Tang Yan finally saw the woman's face. What a thin and beautiful woman. If she was acting with another man and lured Lu Zhao to the demolition building, then no one would suspect that such a weak-looking woman was actually a murderer. Did you extract anything valuable from the clothes? Tang Yan asked as he flipped through the information. There are the deceased's fingerprints and hair that doesn't belong to the original owner of the clothes. In other words, Xin Mei had strangled Lu Zhao to death in this clothes. Should I apply to summon her for questioning? We can't alert the enemy. Tang Yan shook his head. If you don't have conclusive evidence, it's impossible for a repeat offender like Xin Mei to admit to it. You have to know how strong that kind of person's mentality is. Then what should we do now? Old Ching scratched his head and asked, are we going to let her continue to get away with it? Just as Tang Yan was thinking about it carefully, thinking that he should hold a meeting to plan the next step, a subordinate at the door came to report that the Lu family had come to collect the body. At the same time, Muqiqi also came. Captain Tang, let me do the work of comforting the Lu family. Muqiqi was wearing a brown windbreaker and had a round belly. She walked in front of Tang Yan and said, go ahead. Tang Yan nodded. No one was more suitable than Muqiqi for this matter. A moment later, Muqiqi, wearing sterile clothes and white gloves, led the Lu family to the morgue. This was also the first time Muqiqi met Lu Zichen. He was not tall, but he was very handsome. His face was full of grief. It was obvious that he respected his father a lot. Mr. Lu, I'm very sorry about your father's death, but I believe that with the police's efforts, they will definitely give your Lu family an explanation. Lu Zichen and his wife bowed to Muqiqi. He knew who Muqiqi was. On behalf of my parents, I would like to express my gratitude to you. This is your father's relic, the button on his suit. Because it's an important piece of evidence, we can't return it to you. Lu Zichen's eyes lit up when he heard the word, material evidence. He asked, do you have any clues about the murderer? Just go back and bury your father. Those who killed him don't even think about escaping. Muqiqi encouraged him seriously. Also, your wife doesn't look well. You're the pillar of the Lu family now. You must take good care of your family's safety. Thank you, Mrs. Sheng. If my father is in heaven and knows that he can still meet so many good people after he leaves, he will definitely be very pleased. Muqiqi smiled at him. But just as the two of them turned around, Muqiqi suddenly smelled a familiar scent. She quickly called out to Lu Zichen, wait a minute, please wait a moment. Lu Zichen turned around with his wife and saw Muqiqi chasing after them. She asked Lu Zichen's wife, Mrs. Lu, do you wear perfume? Mrs. Lu shook her head in confusion. After having a child, I almost don't wear perfume. What's wrong? Did you see a woman this morning? When I sent my child to school, I did meet a woman at the school gate. At that time, my son fell down and she kindly helped him up. She also told me that she was a new teacher at the kindergarten. Mrs. Lu recalled carefully and sniffed her body. There's the smell of perfume? Then can you call the kindergarten right now to confirm your son's safety? Also, get someone reliable to bring your son back. You must be quick, Muqiqi said anxiously. The murderer's next target was not Lu Zichen, but Lu Zichen's wife and child. After hearing Muqiqi's words, Lu Zichen immediately guessed what was going on. He immediately said to Muqiqi, my wife and I will go pick him up right away. Don't worry. I'm just guessing. Don't alert the kindergarten first. Instead, the other party will notice and take action in advance. I'll go look for Captain Tang now to discuss a solution. No need, I heard everything, Tang Yan said from behind Muqiqi. I'll lead the team over now, but Mr. and Mrs. Liu, it's best for you to stay at the police station. Don't go anywhere and wait for our news. That was the effective perfume. Qiqi, you stay here too. Muqiqi instantly understood Tang Yan's intentions and nodded. Don't worry, we'll wait for your news. I hope this is a false alarm. Can you take me there? I want to see my son. Mrs. Liu took a step forward excitedly. However, Muqiqi stopped her. Believe me, Mrs. Liu. They want to save your child just like you. If you go with them, you might become one of the murderer's targets. At that time, not only will the police have to save your son, but they will also have to take care of you. The gains won't make up for the losses. I'm also going to be a mother soon. I understand your feelings, but at this time you must think of the child. After Mrs. Liu heard this, she hugged her husband and cried. Lu Zichen immediately comforted her. I believe in the police. You believe with me, okay? When Tang Yan saw this, he immediately led the team and set off. It seemed that the Song family did not intend to stop. Then Tang Yan called Xianxia and borrowed a person. In terms of strength, he was above Su Che, but in terms of agility, no one could compare to Su Che. Moreover, that kindergarten was very close to Zhongting. Tang Yan hoped that Su Che could go over and save them first. At this moment, Song Jiang might not know that the identities of the two generals in Uncle Rong's hands had been exposed. And they would be exposed even more next. Chapter 953. Soon, the principal of the kindergarten was also notified and immediately made a phone call to confirm whether the children of the Liu family were staying in the class. However, after confirming, the teacher found that the Liu family's child was not in his seat. The principal immediately went out to verify, but he heard from the form teacher that the child had drunk too much water and wanted to go to the bathroom, so the new teacher had already sent him over. How long has it been? 20 minutes. The form teacher said after looking at his watch. He hasn't come back in 20 minutes. Don't you know to go and take a look? The principal panicked and quickly brought his assistant to the bathroom to look for the child. However, there was no trace of the child in the bathroom of the entire building. Seeing this, the principal immediately asked someone to check the surveillance footage. Other than the school bus leaving, there were no other suspicious traces. With this situation, the principal immediately replied to the police that the child might have been kidnapped on the school bus. Tang Yan immediately asked the principal to give him the license plate number of the school bus and sent someone to the transportation department to assist in the investigation. As for Su Che, he still followed the plan and went to the school. This was to prevent Shin Mei from creating a diversion because it was very likely that she was still hiding the child in the school. Su Che searched around the school, but he went to all the places that could hide people. In the end, he stopped on the 5th floor of the bathroom and asked the school's security guard, "Can you open the balcony for me to see?" The security captain thought for a moment and answered, "Sir, this place has been sealed all year round. It's impossible for anyone to go up. You'll know once you go up and take a look. If something happens to the child up there, will you be responsible?" Of course, the security guard did not dare to take responsibility. He quickly took out the key and opened the door to the rooftop on the 5th floor. Other than a locked storeroom, it was empty. There was nothing else. The security guard heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this. "Look, I told you there won't be a problem, right?" But at this moment, a child's moan came from the storeroom. Su Che immediately went forward and kicked open the door of the storeroom. He saw that the 3 or 4-year-old child was tied up and hung on the beam. If he hadn't come up, then no one would have known that the child had dried up here. Su Che took a big step forward and immediately put the child down. When the security guards saw this, they had nothing to say because they were very guilty. "This is your school's security? Are you all just decorations?" After shouting, Su Che carried the child and ran down from the balcony. The Song family's madness had reached the point where they didn't even let their children go. Su Che had never seen such a scene. Such a small child was hung from such a high place. How big of a shadow was this to him? He might be affected for the rest of his life. "Uncle, am I going to die?" the child asked quietly in Su Che's arms. Su Che stopped, squatted on the ground and let the child sit on his legs. He replied, "You won't die because Uncle is here to save you. Child, remember, in this world the strongest people are soldiers. If you're afraid in the future, become a soldier, be a policeman and catch bad guys, understand? The child didn't seem to understand, but he nodded heavily. With that, Su Che carried the child and sent him to the infirmary. Originally, Su Che should have breathed a sigh of relief, but when he saw the female doctor holding the equipment and wearing a mask, he felt very unnatural. Would a doctor be nervous to the point of trembling when seeing a patient? Then the nurse came out and closed the door. But at this critical moment, Su Che rushed in and grabbed the doctor's hand. "You're the murderer, aren't you?" The female doctor started to dodge and the nurse looked at her face carefully. "You're not Dr. Gao?" The woman struggled to escape, but she fell into Su Che's hands. Unless she was a dead person, no one could escape his shackles. Soon old Qing and the others caught up to the school bus. They thought that since Xun Mei was caught at school, there should be no problem on the school bus. However, old Qing recognized the driver of the school bus. That was Xun Mei's accomplice. This time, old Qing didn't give people the chance to crush his intestines like before in J City. He took out a gun and pointed it at the back of the man's head. After the man surrendered, he pressed him against the steering wheel and handcuffed him. "You won't even let a child go. Let's see where you two thieves can run this time." After an entire morning's operation with Su Che's help, Tang Yan successfully rescued the child and caught Xun Mei and her accomplice. When Mu Qiqi received the call, she couldn't help but smile as if a heavy burden had been lifted. "The child is fine. The doctor has also seen him. It's not a big deal. Captain Tang and the others will bring him to you in a while. In the future you have to care about him more. Don't let him leave any shadows." When Mrs. Lu heard this, she immediately squatted on the ground and heaved a sigh of relief. Thank God. On the other hand, Lu Zichen thanked Mu Qiqi several times as well. "What are you thanking me for? This is what we should do." After a long hour, the child was brought back to the police station. Along with him, 2 suspects were brought back. Tang Yan returned the child to the Lu couple and instructed old Qing to keep an eye on the 2 suspects in the interrogation room. When Mrs. Lu saw the child, tears welled up in her eyes. Baby, let mom take a good look at you. Are you okay?" The child leaned into his mother's arms and shook his head. "Uncle is so amazing. Uncle saved me." The child pointed at Su Che, who was standing at the door. "It's good that you're fine, it's good that you're fine." The family of 3 hugged each other. Mu Qiqi stood at the side and understood the feeling of regaining something that had been lost. Seeing this scene, she was very gratified. But at the same time, she also knew that Lu Zhao's case had to continue. So she walked to Tang Yan's side and asked, "Captain Tang, when do you plan to interrogate these 2? "Wait for the results of that strand of hair," Tang Yan replied with his arms crossed. "Otherwise, there's no conclusive evidence to prove that Lu Zhao's death is related to her." "During the interrogation, can I participate?" Tang Yan looked at Mu Qiqi and then at her bulging abdomen. "Go back and rest. You've done everything you can. Leave the rest to us. I'm afraid that these 2 won't admit to being instigated behind the scenes." Chapter 954. I have already asked someone to take Xun Mei's hair and compare it with the one found on the clothes. Yes, we will have the answer soon. Let's go back. Su Che was also rushing her. "Madam, Chief Sheng asked me to take you home." Mu Qiqi looked at the 3 members of the Lu family and nodded. "Got it. I'll pack up and go back now. Don't worry about Xianxia. My mommy and 5th aunt will help." "Thank you. I will hurry up and solve the case as soon as possible." The people Mu Qiqi hated the most were those who touched the old, women and children, and the Song family did all of them. Therefore, no matter what others thought or planned, as long as Tang Yan could use her, she would help the police and the Song family settle the score at all costs. After Mu Qiqi left, Tang Yan asked the police to block the news in case the Song family came to cause trouble. Before he could get any solid evidence, he wanted to see what he could dig out from these 2 people's mouths. Then the 3 members of the Lu family also said goodbye to Tang Yan. "Captain Tang, thank you so much for today." Lu Zichen protected his wife and daughter. "If it wasn't for the police's timely rescue, I'm afraid my son would have been dead. The person you should thank is Qiqi. She was pregnant last night and found the smell of perfume at the murder scene. Today she came to send your father off. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found out that the murderer's target was your son," Tang Yan said honestly. "Jianchuan has been very chaotic recently. Be careful." We know. We'll leave my father to you. Lu Zichen's family of 3 bowed to Tang Yan. It's my job. Don't worry. After that, Tang Yan sent someone to send the Lu family away. However, just as Lu Zichen walked out of the police station with his wife and children, he saw Su Che waiting at the door. President Lu, our President Xing wants to see you. I wonder if it's convenient? Lu Zichen looked at Mu Qiqi in the car and nodded. I'll follow behind you. Now that Xianxia wanted to meet the Lu family, he would not avoid it at all. Anyway, Xianxia had already expressed his full support for the Lu family. This was also to prevent the Song family from continuing to target the Lu family. Soon, Su Che brought Mu Qiqi and the Lu family to Zhongting's office. The first thing Xianxia did when he rose from his desk was to hug Mu Qiqi and arrange for Lu Zichen's family to be seated. Chief Xing, what are your orders? You are not my subordinate, so our relationship is one of cooperation. After Xianxia finished speaking, he asked his secretary to place the drafted contract in front of Lu Zichen. This is the letter of intent for the cooperation between Zhongting and the Lu Corporation. As long as the Lu Corporation's board of directors recognizes your identity, Zhongting will invest a large amount of money to support the Lu Corporation's education. There are detailed amounts in it. Take a look first. Lu Zichen took the contract from his secretary in disbelief. Chief Xing, if you're afraid, you can back out of this matter. I'll arrange a safe place for your family of 3. Xianxia even arranged a second option for Lu Zichen. However, Lu Zichen shook his head. My father died for no reason. Now the murderer has yet to be brought to justice. As his son, how can I abandon him and go abroad to enjoy myself? Besides, my father is no longer around. I have to guard the Lu Corporation for him. This is the only thing I can do for him as his son. Even if Chief Xing doesn't inject funds, I will still attend the inauguration ceremony. Even if I'm alone, and it'll only make things difficult for my wife and son. What are you talking about? Mrs. Lu quickly said. I support you. After listening to the couple's words, Xianxia curled his lips and looked satisfied. Since you're going to do it, of course you have to do it to the best of your ability. With your current situation, you can't take care of both inside and outside. Whether you can stabilize the board of directors will depend on your ability. As for the external part, Zhongting will take care of it. So, what you have to do is to prove to Jianchuan and even the whole country that the Lu Corporation's education is the best. After that, Su Che will carefully select 4 bodyguards to be responsible for the daily life of your family of 3. The security system of your villa will also be upgraded. If the Song family wants to touch you, they'll have to ask me first. After Lu Zichen heard this, he held his wife's hand and bowed to Xianxia again. I won't let you down. Thank you, Mrs. Sheng. You saved my son today. I can't repay this kindness. It's all thanks to Su Che. Mu Qiqi quickly pointed at Su Che and said, if you want to thank someone, thank him. Su Che couldn't stand such a scene and quickly slipped away. When Mu Qiqi saw this, she couldn't help but laugh. What he means is that there's no need for everything. Xiao Xing, you have a good wife. After Xianxia heard this, he looked at Mu Qiqi. Mu Qiqi also looked at Xianxia. Listen, someone praised her, right? She still has a long way to go. In the afternoon at the Song family. Originally, according to Uncle Rong's expectations, Shen Mei and her husband should have dealt with Lu Zichen's son long ago. However, there was still no news of Shen Mei and her husband. Uncle Rong couldn't help but wonder if something had gone wrong with the mission. Although Tang Yan had blocked the news, it was still a big commotion. As long as Uncle Rong sent someone out, he would know that his 2 capable subordinates were already at the police station. Arresting a man was within Uncle Rong's expectations. After all, he was there to make Shen Mei a scapegoat. But why? Shen Mei would be exposed? What went wrong? Lu Zhao's case was all about a man. How did someone know that a woman was involved? Even so, both of them were arrested. However, Uncle Rong wasn't worried at all that his identity would be exposed because he knew very well that the police wouldn't be able to get anything out of them. However, losing 2 people just like that made him very uncomfortable. No, it should be said that he was angry. He wanted to find out who had found out about Shen Mei. Soon, the news that Zhongting was going to support the Lu Corporation was spread by the media in Jianchuan. At this critical juncture, when those partners saw that Lu Zhao was dead, they all had plans to retreat. However, now that Zhongting had invested in them and their boss had spoken, These small fries naturally chose to firmly cling onto the Lu Corporation's thigh. When Song Buji received the news, he immediately laughed. This was the result of Uncle Rong making a move. Xianxia was a person who didn't like others to provoke him. Now that Yashang Group had bullied them to such an extent, as long as he moved his fingers and supported the Lu Corporation, Yashang Group would not have an easy time for the next few years. Chapter 955. What are you saying? Song Jiang was so angry that he was almost confused. Because of your radicalism, Xianxia has already openly invested in Yashang Group. Do you know the consequences of his intervention? Yashang Group is a foreign company to begin with. It has already taken a lot of effort to compete with local companies. Now that Zhongting has intervened, they have everything now. What can Yashang Group use to compete? Or are you still very confident in our foreign financial industry? After hearing Song Buji's call, Song Jiang was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. Xianxiao, it's Xianxiao again. He has the final say here. It doesn't matter if you admit it or not. This is the truth. If you want Yashang Group to have a harder time, you can continue to take the riskiest path with Uncle Rong, but I won't accompany you. After hearing Song Buji's words, Song Jiang's eyes widened. You bastard. Don't you know why your father is doing this? You're still making sarcastic remarks. Yashang Group is facing so much pressure now. Now that Zhongting is helping the Lu Corporation crush them, I don't think you'll be able to play until Deputy City Mayor Liang is replaced. After saying that, Song Buji hung up the phone. Speaking of which, he seemed to be at fault too. Half a year ago, Uncle Rong was not like this. Who knew that he would become so fierce and ruthless? What about Song Jiang? His son hung up on him. Now that Yashang Group was still facing such a crisis, he only wanted to know what went wrong. Therefore, after returning home, he directly questioned Uncle Rong. Didn't we agree to leave everything to you? Won't there be a problem? But what's the result now? Uncle Rong was sitting in the living room drinking tea. When he heard Song Jiang's questioning, he lost his temper. My people are risking their lives for you. I haven't even said anything, but you're the one blaming them first. Old Song, we're in the same boat. Now that the boat is leaking, we can only think of repairing it. Internal strife won't work. My people have gone in, but you don't have to worry. They won't say anything. However, we have to think of a way to get rid of Xianxiao. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything in Jianchuan in the future. After hearing his old friend's words, Song Jiang calmed down and nodded. The success or failure of revenge depends on Xianxiao alone. Without him, the Xin family, the Xing family, and even the Lu family are just ants in my hands. It's easy to crush them. Since you already know, let's take our time to think about it. After all, they knew very well that Xianxiao was the core of everything. You stay at home and calm down. I'm going to inquire about a few things. Uncle Rong put down his teacup and prepared to go out. He had to find out who had found out about Shin Mei. In the Jianchuan branch office, Tang Yan was sitting in the interrogation room. Opposite him was a petite and beautiful woman. She was the famous Shin Mei. Why did you kidnap that child? Tang Yan's tone was still calm because he knew that he would have to waste a lot of time dealing with this cunning suspect. I just saw that the Lu family is rich, so I wanted to have a child. Shin Mei lowered her head and answered very calmly. Because she was caught red-handed kidnapping the child, she couldn't deny it. In addition, there was the child's confession and so on. Even if she wanted to refute, she didn't have the chance. Is that so? But you locked the child on the rooftop and didn't chase him away. Your intention was to kill him, not to take him away, right? I just wanted to wait for the limelight to pass before I took him away, Shin Mei answered smoothly. So, you want to extort money from the Lu family to ransom him? Yes. Shin Mei continued to nod. The one locked up next door is your companion? Tang Yan didn't continue to dwell on the child. Instead, he took the opportunity to change the topic. Yes. Then do you know that in Lu Zhao's case he's a murder suspect? Tang Yan asked again. The surveillance footage shows that he moved Lu Zhao's body into the van. His DNA was also found in the cigarette butts found at the crime scene. Do you know about this? I don't know. Shin Mei denied it without thinking. She didn't panic at all. Tang Yan smiled when he saw how calm she was. You were only in prison last year. You should be familiar with the police station, right? So, I'm afraid you won't be afraid of this interrogation room. It's a kidnapping crime. There's no death. At most you'll be sentenced to 10 years in prison. 10 years later you'll be a good man again. Is that what you're planning? Let me ask you again. Do you know that Lu Zhao was killed? No matter how Tang Yan asked, Shen Mei was still a pool of stagnant water. I really don't know. Tang Yan didn't panic. Instead he leaned closer to Shen Mei and sniffed her body. This perfume is still very strong. Do you recognize this dress? Tang Yan raised the evidence bag in his hand so that Shen Mei could see clearly what was inside. When Shen Mei saw the clothes, her expression changed slightly. Let me ask you again. Do you know anything about Lu Zhao's case? Shen Mei raised her head and looked at Tang Yan. Her cunning expression made Tang Yan very impatient. I don't know. Shen Mei insisted that she didn't know. When the man next door brought Lu Zhao's body into the van, you were in the convenience store next door. You were wearing this and chatting with the boss and the van driver. Do you want me to show you more detailed surveillance footage? Shen Mei's eyes suddenly widened. That's not me. It seems that you really treat the police as fools. In the end, Tang Yan took out an evidence bag. There was a strand of hair in it. This strand of hair was taken from the trench coat. It matches your DNA. What else do you have to say? Shen Mei didn't say anything because from this moment on she pretended to be mute. No matter how Tang Yan interrogated her, she just wouldn't admit it. With the evidence in my hands, you and the man next door can no longer stay out of this matter. Why are you suffering so much? Of course, I know that you're silent because you're waiting for your sugar daddy to come and save you. The reason why I'm still willing to sit here is because I want to know who your sugar daddy is. It depends on whether you speak first or the man next door. After saying that, Tang Yan stood up and said to his subordinate beside him, "Continue the interrogation." Got it, Captain Tang. Tang Yan knew that she wouldn't confess, so he had to think of a way to make either Shen Mei or the man reveal the mastermind behind it. Although everyone knew who it was, there was a lack of evidence. After leaving the interrogation room, Tang Yan called Old Qing over. Investigate Shen Mei's background. Everything, including what happened to her in prison for the past 7 years. I don't believe that I can't find a breakthrough. Chapter 956. Tang Yan didn't want to go to the hospital to see Feng Xianxia and the child. Instead he wanted to bring the mother and son home. It was so chaotic outside now. Who knew if the Song family would target the three of them again? Everything was fine with the first two people, but now they had a child. After experiencing so many twists and turns, he didn't want to put his wife and child in danger. Therefore, after arriving at the hospital, he helped Feng Xianxia pack her things. How's the case going? Feng Xianxia hugged their child and coaxed him while asking the man who was packing. It's almost over. Tang Yan carried the mother and son's belongings and placed them on the chair. Then he carefully took his son from Feng Xianxia's hands. Go pack up. We'll leave the hospital immediately. After lying in the hospital for a few days, Feng Xianxia had long been homesick. After this case is over, I'll stay at home and accompany you for a few days. Tang Yan coaxed his son and said gently to Feng Xianxia, I haven't changed his diaper yet and I don't know how heavy he is. The child has been born for a few days but I'm still out of it. Feng Xianxia smiled and nodded. After hearing Feng Xianxia's answer, Tang Yan freed one hand and wrapped it around Feng Xianxia's neck. He kissed her forehead gently. It's been hard on you these few days. Feng Xianxia shook her head again because she knew that although this man was out all day, he was worried about her and her son. After you're done with your confinement, we'll go and thank Fifth Aunt and Auntie Xing. I'll listen to you. Feng Xianxia now had a husband and a son. She was very satisfied. The couple brought their son back to the house. On the other hand, Xianxia had been investigating the new people around Songjiang for the past few days. With the joint efforts of a few people, they finally had a good harvest. According to the information sent by Su Che, this person's surname was Feng and he was known as Uncle Rong. He had been in the underworld for 20 years and later he cleared his career abroad. He was ruthless and merciless. This Uncle Rong and Songjiang have been in cahoots abroad. I'm afraid Uncle Rong was the one who handled Lu Zhao's matter. The two of them have been best friends for many years. However, they aren't completely on the same page. Songjiang's overall goal is revenge, but Uncle Rong is after money. Xianxia nodded and nodded. Is that person in Jianchuan now? Xianxia asked even as he flipped through the information. Yes, I checked his itinerary. He's only been back in the country for a few days. Just a few days, Lu Zhao. Su Che nodded. One Song Jiang is already very uncomfortable. If there's another Uncle Rong, I'm afraid we'll also encounter a lot of difficulties, especially with the Lu family's matter this time. Zhongting stepped forward to block the disaster. I'm afraid those two people have long regarded you as a thorn in their side and will be happy to get rid of you. No matter what, I will always be an obstacle to them. Xianxia did not take that to heart. Next, investigate the relationship between Shen Mei and this Uncle Rong and see if we can find any clues between them. Xianxia put down the information and gave Su Che a task. Tomorrow is Lu Zichen's inauguration press conference. We have to attend. After what happened this morning, Lu Zichen's family is probably scared out of their wits. Next, you put in place the security. The family of 3 will naturally be safe and sound. Moreover, Song Jiang should now know that all the problems were with him, not with the Lu family. There was no other use in dealing with the Lu family other than consuming his own strength. Then, didn't the president take all the danger on himself? After Xianxia heard Su Che's words, he put down the pen in his hand and leaned back in his office chair. He revealed a smile. If these two really work together to deal with me, it'll save me a lot of effort. I'm just afraid that they'll put their minds where they shouldn't be. Su Che knew that the other place Xianxia was talking about was Muqiqi. However, everyone knew how important Muqiqi was to him. Moreover, she was pregnant. Compared to dealing with him, it was much easier. This time, the Lu family's suppression of the Yashang group will expose more shortcomings in the Song family's economy. It won't be long before Song Jiang can't sit still. It was late at night. Muqiqi was at home, anxiously waiting for the results of Shen Mei's interrogation. However, the two of them refused to say anything. Even in the face of the evidence, the two of them still showed extraordinary mental fortitude and did not say anything at all. When Xianxia returned home, he saw the pregnant woman who was 8 months pregnant. She did not behave at all, so he directly carried her and put her on the bed. From now on, if I don't see you on the bed when it's time to sleep, don't even think about helping me with anything the branch office wants. Muqiqi leaned against the bed and pouted. I just want to know if Shen Mei confessed. You know very well in your heart that she won't confess. That's why you're walking around the room. Xianxia directly exposed her. These two people are well trained. They already have a lot of experience in dealing with such things. If they don't make a ruthless move, they won't let go. Do you know the identity of the person behind them? Xianxia reached out and hugged Muqiqi. He hoped that she would be a little more muddle-headed and stupid. You're pregnant now. You need to rest. Muqiqi actually knew that she had indeed gone overboard during this period of time. Xianxia had fulfilled everything she wanted to do. She couldn't ask for anything more. I'm just afraid that Song Jiang will take an unconventional approach and hurt you. Your man isn't that easy to deal with. Xianxia let go of Muqiqi's round body and pulled up the blanket for her. Go to sleep first. I'll be in the study. Muqiqi took the opportunity to pull Xianxia back. It's been a long time since you told your daughter a bedtime story. Xianxia looked at her eyes that were sparkling like stars, so he nodded. Let me wash up first. I don't know why I'm so keen on bedtime stories. Because I can lean in your arms, listen to your voice and feel your heartbeat. Just thinking about it makes me feel very happy. Xianxia chuckled and pinched Muqiqi's nose. Wait. Ever since she found out that she was pregnant, she had been trapped for 8 months. She couldn't eat what she liked, couldn't play what she liked, and didn't even go shopping or go to any beautiful places. Other than her home, it was the forensics laboratory of the branch office. Sometimes when he thought about it, he couldn't bear it. So Xianxia quickly washed up and returned to the bed. He lay down beside Muqiqi and reached out to hug her. What do you want to hear today? Tell me something scary, Muqiqi said as she leaned into Xianxiao's arms. Xianxia frowned and put down the fairy tale book in his hand. It seemed that he could only make it up. The winter night was really cold. Chapter 957. The police officer interrogating Shen Mei had been dozing off. However, Shen Mei was in high spirits. She sat on the chair swaying but did not say a word. Tang Yan coaxed his son to sleep and returned to the police station. He found that Shen Mei had not confessed yet. He wanted to use some tricks, but the chief suddenly came to the interrogation room. Tang Yan, come out for a moment. Tang Yan walked to the chief and saw the chief introduce him to a person. This is Chief Long from the 9th Division. The reason why he came here is because he heard that we caught Shin Mei, so he specially came to apply for us to transfer her to him for interrogation. Tang Yan frowned when he heard the words 9th Division. He had heard that the higher-ups were investigating Bai Sini's case, but no one had taken action. This time they had appeared and asked for Shin Mei. I want to know the reason. Song Jiang, Feng Chong and Shin Mei you caught are all in the same boat. We've been waiting for Feng Chong for a long time, but we haven't seen him make a move. This time he exposed Shin Mei. Of course, we want to get something new from Shin Mei's mouth, Chief Long explained. Tang Yan, don't worry. When she goes to the 9th Division she'll vomit everything. It's better than sitting here and letting you guys stare at each other. What do you think? Song Jiang has caused so much trouble. Are you still not planning to close the net? Tang Yan's tone was a little unfriendly. If I hand my prisoner over to you I won't get any information. How can I end Lu Zhao's case? As long as Shin Mei confesses I can tell you everything. The premise is that you must abide by the rules of confidentiality. Of course that's not a problem, Tang Yan replied. Instead of letting Shin Mei be locked up here, it would be better to send her to the 9th Division. That way the results of the investigation would come faster. After all, the 9th Division was responsible for the interrogation of these major cases. They had much more methods than the police station. Then I'll take Shin Mei away now. I'll leave the other one to you. Chief Long took the person and Tang Yan helped transfer her. After that he asked the chief, are the people from the 9th Division reliable? Anyway, they can ask whatever you want to know. Tang Yan did not ask any more questions. Instead he went to another interrogation room. The man who had been treated as a scapegoat was currently looking down at his feet. No one knew what he was thinking. Yang Wentao, Tang Yan shouted. You're Shin Mei's lover, right? In September this year you were diagnosed with lung cancer. Knowing that you don't have much time left, you decided to help Shin Mei do something big, right? The man in front of her was completely silent. It's fine if you don't want to tell me, but do you know where Shin Mei went? Tang Yan asked the seriously ill man. She was taken away by the 9th Division. Do you know what kind of place the 9th Division is? That place isn't the police station. The police will treat you politely and even serve you tea. Once you enter that place the only path left for you is to confess or live a life worse than death. The longer you persist the longer she will suffer. The man finally raised his head. I want to see Shin Mei. Not to mention you, even I can't see her now. Tang Yan answered him directly. The evidence for the kidnapping of Lu Zhao and the Lu family's child is conclusive. You can't deny it, but as long as you tell us the whole story Shin Mei can avoid a lot of pain. You're in the middle stage of cancer. You know how it feels. If you want to give her a chance you'd better tell her. The man put his palms together. It was obvious that he was struggling. I can't say it. If I say it she will die too. Then let's just wait like this. Tang Yan spread his hands and made an indifferent gesture. Anyway, Shin Mei is in the 9th Division now. It doesn't matter if you don't tell her. She will have to tell you everything. After saying that, Tang Yan got up from the chair. This is the last chance I'm giving you. In the future, even if you want to tell me, I won't fight for you to go to the 9th Division to plead for you. I don't know much, Yang Wentao said nervously. Yang Wentao said nervously, I only know that there's someone above Shin Mei, but I've always been working with Shin Mei. I do love her and I'm indeed going to die. But if the police want me to explain the mastermind, I really can't answer anything. Then explain the process of you and Shin Mei's crime clearly. Lu Zhao's case. I was the one who killed him. Watch your words. The forensic doctor has confirmed that it was a woman who strangled Lu Zhao. Tang Yan immediately retorted. Tang Yan immediately retorted. If you're going to talk about these useless things, I think you'd better not. Shin Mei and I lured him to the demolition house together. I was also the one who did it, but my illness suddenly acted up and I lost my strength. That's why Shin Mei took over, Yang Wentao explained. I was also the one who dumped the body. Then do you know that Shin Mei has been using you? I know, Yang Wentao answered in a low voice. Then do you know that you're her scapegoat? I know too. This was undoubtedly true love. Tang Yan didn't even know how to describe this man who was crazy about love. You can't explain what's behind it, but Xin Mei still has to pay the price for everything she's done. Tang Yen knew that Yang Wentao really couldn't spit out anything. It was no wonder that the people from the 9th Division didn't want him at all. Therefore Tang Yen got up from his chair again and was about to hand it over to his subordinates to deal with it. However, at this moment Yang Wentao suddenly stopped him. I only know that the person's surname is Feng. Xin Mei calls him Uncle Rong. Tang Yen turned around and looked at Yang Wentao meaningfully. Something happens to Xin Mei, you want that Uncle Rong to die with her, right? Yang Wentao didn't say anything, but his intention was obvious. Tang Yen finally got some new information. He immediately asked his subordinates to make a statement, while he returned to the office and asked Old Qing to immediately investigate who this so-called Uncle Rong, who was the Feng Chong mentioned by the 9th Division, was. For some reason, perhaps because of the appearance of the people from the 9th Division, Tang Yen suddenly had a feeling that the clouds were about to be lifted. The Song family's days were numbered. Old Qing, I'll be able to avenge you soon. When Old Qing heard this, he immediately became excited. He thought that Tang Yen had never taken this matter to heart, but he didn't expect him to still remember it. Thank you, Captain Tang. Soon Jianchuan began to fog. As for Uncle Rong, he returned to the Song family with a body full of water vapor. He used several connections to find out a little bit. After Xin Mei was arrested, she was transferred that night. As for where she was transferred, he had no way of knowing. Uncle Rong felt that something was wrong. Although he knew that Xin Mei was very loyal, she was still in the hands of the police. If the police used some tricks to make Xin Mei reveal the truth, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this point he also knew who suspected Xin Mei and caused her to be exposed. Chapter 958. However, in front of Song Jiang, Uncle Rong did not show any signs of panic. After entering the Song family's living room, he saw the father and son of the Song family drinking tea around the sofa. Why would he drink tea in the middle of the night? It was just an act. Thinking of this, Uncle Rong put down his frown and sat beside Song Jiang. It's been a long time since I've seen you two play chess together. We were waiting for you. Song Buji put down the chess piece and looked up at Uncle Rong. Uncle Rong, your subordinates have been arrested by the police. So what? My subordinates are loyal to me, they will never betray me. You believe them, but how can we believe them? Right now Yashang Group is in troubled times. You should go abroad to avoid trouble. Song Buji said to Uncle Rong mercilessly, if the police find out about our relationship again, then the Song family's hard work for more than 20 years will be over. When Uncle Rong heard this, he couldn't help but sneer. He stood up and slammed the table. You and your son are still as good as ever. Who did I come back from abroad for? I killed someone for you, father and son. Now that my people are inside, you want to kick me away for your own safety? How can there be such a good thing in this world? Old Feng were also thinking about the long term. Think about it. Now that Yashang Group is being suppressed by the Lu Corporation, and Zhongting is interfering. Now that the police have caught your subordinate, if she can't take it and says everything, none of the three of us will be able to escape. If I go abroad, who can guarantee my safety? Plus, when I go abroad, you and your father will cut off our relationship. Then won't I be the only one left to take the blame? Uncle Rong was no fool. He naturally would not do something that would harm his interests. I will never leave Jianchuan. Both of you, father and son, give up on this idea. When Song Buji saw Uncle Rong sit down again, he gave his father a look. The father and son had a tacit understanding. They could only appease him first. I know what you and your father are thinking. But we are in the same boat now. No one can stay out of this. We can only get through this together. Don't you want to deal with Xianxia? I have a way, we only have a chance to survive if we take him down. Therefore from now on the three of us must trust each other unconditionally. However, what Song Jiang was thinking about now was not how to take down Xianxia, but how to get rid of Uncle Rong. If the police found any clues, they would not be able to protect themselves, let alone Xianxia. I'll talk about my method first. See if there's any room for it to work. I know that Mu Qiqi has an aunt in Jianchuan. Right now the only person around her that's easy to deal with is this aunt. You two think carefully about whether you want to deal with me or Mu Qiqi's aunt first. I'll wait for your reply. After saying that, Uncle Rong stood up and returned to his room. Song Jiang sat on the sofa and took a deep breath. He regretted his radical actions. He had a good hand, but now he had messed it up. Actually, the situation isn't that bad, but Dad, you have to be prepared. Song Buji was hinting that Song Jiang had to make a choice. The dangerous person upstairs could not be left alive. At the branch office, although Tang Yan knew about Feng Chong from Yang Wentao, he would not act rashly before Xin Mei's confession came out. This was because he wanted to wait for Xin Mei's confession to come out before he dealt with Song Jiang and the others in one fell swoop. The night gradually darkened. Jianchuan in winter seemed deserted and desolate. Tomorrow was Lu Ziqian's inauguration press conference. As the CEO of Zhongting, Xianxia would also attend the press conference tomorrow. The next morning, Mu Qiqi straightened her bulging belly and personally helped Xianxia put on an irregularly tailored white suit. Looking at his tall and slender figure, Mu Qiqi could not help but say, "Master Xiao, there will be many socialites and ladies at the press conference. They will all be staring at you. I'll only look at Lu Ziqian." Xiao lowered his head and said to her, "Are you satisfied? I want to go too. Lu Ziqian is an outstanding man. I want to see him shine." Lu Ziqian is an outstanding man? Xiao could not help but repeat Mu Qiqi's words. His tone was filled with jealousy. Mu Qiqi immediately laughed. She grabbed his shirt and asked, "Can't I praise others? Go change your clothes. I'll take you out in 10 minutes. Xiao did not continue discussing this issue with her. Instead, he wanted to bring her to the venue of the inauguration press conference. Mu Qiqi seized the opportunity and quickly went to the cloakroom. However, after changing her clothes, she frowned again. "I'd better not go. I haven't put on makeup for a few months. I don't look energetic when I'm barefaced like this." After Xiao heard this, he entered the cloakroom and held her hand. "You're my woman. I'll just look at you. It's not up to others to admire you, and I won't allow them to judge you. Can we go now?" After getting pregnant, women would sometimes let their imaginations run wild because the other party was too outstanding. However, because of this man's protection, Mu Qiqi felt very at ease. The two of them walked downstairs hand in hand. They had already arranged to leave immediately, but Tang Yan's phone call delayed Xiao. "Xin Mei has told us, so we're going to summon Feng Chong immediately. She didn't mention Song Jiang." Xiao frowned and asked Tang Yan. "Step by step. These people are very cunning. Sooner or later we'll get rid of them," Tang Yan answered Xiao calmly. "When we catch Feng Chong, his relationship with the Song family will gradually become clear. When that time comes, we won't have a chance to send the father and son to prison. Feng Chong won't be that easy to catch." This was not Xiao's discouraging words, but the truth. Feng Chong had many years of experience in the underworld. What he knew best was to protect his life. It doesn't matter if he's easy to catch or not. The fact that the police have summoned him means that they've found him. I don't believe that he and the Song father and son will be together in the end. I'll attend the Lu Corporation's event first and wait for your news. Xiao saw that Mu Qiqi was a little tired from standing downstairs, so he was about to hang up the phone. It would not be easy for Tang Yan to go to the Song family to capture them now. It might even anger Feng Chong. However, the path of the three of them was about to come to an end. He wanted to solve these three problems once and for all before the little thing gave birth. Mu Qiqi saw that Xiao had been on the phone for so long and guessed that it might be Tang Yan. She asked, "What's the progress on Captain Tang's side? Let's go to the event first. I'll tell you on the way." Xiao hugged her and protected her as she left the banyan courtyard and got into his black Bentley. After hanging up, Tang Yan also began to take action. He did not know what method the 9th Division had used to make Xin Mei confess. It had only been one night, but Xin Mei had actually vomited out everything that she needed to. Chapter 959. Because Uncle Rong lived in the Song family, Tang Yan went straight to the Song family with the summons. When the servants of the Song family saw so many police officers at the door early in the morning, they panicked and immediately went to look for Song Jiang. Song Jiang did not expect the police to arrive so quickly, so he asked Uncle Rong to find a place to hide. He went downstairs to find out why the police were here. Song Buji also saw Tang Yan downstairs from the bedroom on the 2nd floor. He did not need to think about it to know that Uncle Rong's so-called loyal subordinate had probably sold him out. Why did you come to my house so early in the morning? Tang Yan first took out his work ID and summons before slowly saying, I thought that Mr. Song should know very well why I'm here. The murderer of Lu Zhao's case has been found out, but during the interrogation of the suspect, she accidentally confessed the mastermind behind it. That's why I came to the Song family to look for her. Why did the murderer of Lu Zhao come to the Song family to capture someone? Song Jiang acted as if he did not know anything. He was puzzled by Tang Yan's actions. Doesn't Feng Chong live in the Song family? Could it be that the police's intelligence is wrong? I think it's better for Mr. Song to hand him over. Otherwise, if the matter blows up, it won't be good for Yashang Group. Song Jiang looked at Tang Yan with a murderous look in his eyes. He did not use Qingbin to kill him back then, but now he had brought himself big trouble. Then Song Buji appeared behind the two of them. He looked at Tang Yan, who was wearing a black jacket, and said, Officer Tang, why don't you just come in and search? Yashang Group is now under attack from all sides. We can't afford to have any more rumors. Song Jiang turned around and looked at his son. His brows were tightly furrowed. Song Buji clearly knew that Uncle Rong was upstairs, yet he still asked the police to go in. Was he planning to perish together with everyone? Finally, there's still a reasonable person in Yashang Group. Then we'll have to offend you. Go in and search carefully. Tang Yan led the team and personally went in to search. He had a premonition that Feng Chong, who had been a big shot for decades, would not be caught so easily. However, he still had to take this step because he wanted to tell everyone that the Lu Zhao case was related to the Song family. After a search, there was no one else in the villa other than the father and son. Captain Tang Feng Chong ran away. Old Qing found Feng Chong's things in the Song family. Then he pointed at the Song father and son with his chin and said, Do you want to bring them back for questioning? Since you are harboring a criminal, of course you have to bring him back for interrogation. Tang Yan said to the Song father and son, I'm sorry, Mr. Song. I'll have to trouble you and your son to come with us. As Tang Yan ate breakfast, he answered old Qing, I'll avenge you in J City, but not now. I know. I'm already very grateful that Captain Tang still remembers it. In fact, Chief Long of the 9th Division did indeed have an agreement with Tang Yan. He wanted to capture the father and son to see if anyone would step forward to protect them. They already had a lot of insider information about Baisini's case, but because it involved a big case, they would not really make a move unless they had conclusive evidence. Also, report Lu Zhao's case and issue a wanted order. At 10 o'clock in the morning at the venue of the Lu Corporation's inauguration press conference, before the speech even started, the people in the education world received news that the father and son from Yashang Group had been invited to the police station for tea. It was related to Lu Zhao's case. Then the police issued a wanted order. It turned out that there were 3 murderers who killed Lu Zhao and the mastermind was Feng Chong. Wasn't it obvious that Yashang Group had created such a brutal murder case in order to suppress their opponent? At 10:15 in the morning, Su Che brought the latest news. Yashang Group's stock had begun to plummet. Xianxia hugged Mu Qiqi and sat below the stage. He tilted his head. At times like this, we have to pay more attention to safety. When a dog is forced into a corner, it will jump over a wall. Chapter 960. Tang Yan's failure to catch Feng Chong was within his expectations. So what would Feng Chong plan to do next? Feng Chong worked hard for the Song father and son, but in the end he was wanted by the police. If it were him, he would not be willing to let it go. Moreover, Feng Chong was ruthless and merciless. If there was no news from Tang Yan for a day, then the people around him and the little thing would be in extreme danger. On the stage, Lu Zichen had already appeared in front of the public in his formal attire. However, what no one expected was that he was holding his son's hand. The exciting moment is here. Mu Qiqi grabbed Xingzhao's palm and was slightly sweating. She also hoped that in this world good people would be rewarded. Under the spotlight, Lu Zichen faced his peers, the big shots of the industry and the media. First he bowed sincerely. Then he held the microphone and began to speak. Before I announce that I will take over the Lu Corporation, I would like to share a piece of good news with everyone. The police have arrested my father's murderer. I believe that my father's spirit in heaven will be able to rest in peace. Everyone must be very curious why I brought my son to the stage. Actually, just yesterday he was tied to the rooftop of the school by my father's murderer. He narrowly escaped death. He's not even 3 years old, but as a father I still harden my heart to tell him that as a business, we rely on our conscience. It's too shameless to use such despicable methods to deal with competitors. I want him to remember this grudge, not to remind him to take revenge, but to remember that when he grows up he should never use such methods to hurt others. Do you remember? The little boy did not have stage fright in front of so many adults below the stage. He nodded obediently. That I'll remember. Seeing Lu Zichen like this, Muqiqi could not help but sigh. In the future his child would definitely be very outstanding. Then the little boy was picked up by his mother. At that moment Lu Zichen looked at Xianxia again. Before I start my inaugural speech I want to thank someone, CEO Xing of Zhongting. I know that before our Lu Corporation you have helped many companies in Jianchuan, including the former Lu Corporation and the Su Corporation. You have done many meaningful things, but I really didn't expect you to invest so much in the education industry. Thank you for your generosity. You allowed our Lu family to find a glimmer of hope when we were struggling at death's door. I'm really grateful to you. Xianxia said nothing. Instead he rose to his feet and bowed slightly in front of everyone. It was just a gesture. And because of Xiao's presence today, Lu Zichen's inaugural speech was appreciated and supported by many successful people. First, it was to educate Lu Zichen's character. Only such a person would have hope in the future. Secondly, it was because of Zhongting's support. The local education industry was half dead because of the impact of the Yashang group. Now that everyone was working together, they would definitely drive those crooked enterprises out of Jianchuan. An upright person is pleasing to the eye. Hearing Muqiqi's sigh, Xianxia tilted his head to look at her. It was because the Xin family's genes were strong that she had such a strong sense of right and wrong. Today, I officially announce that I have become the new chairman of the Lu Corporation. I hope that I can lead everyone to move forward fearlessly. With the warm applause, Lu Zichen's impassioned speech came to an end. Today was a good day not only because of the rise of the Lu Corporation, but also because of the Song family's bad reputation. After the inaugural press conference there was still a luncheon. However, Muqiqi was getting old. After standing for a long time she wanted to lie down. When Xianxia saw this he couldn't help but hug her and say, "Let's go home. You're so happy today." "It's fine." Muqiqi shook her head. When others saw Xiao's protective and meticulous appearance, they really couldn't imagine that this person was still the crown prince of Huangyao who killed decisively and did things based on his mood. What kind of charm did this little bride have to make such a person become so mature for her? "I'll help you sit by the side for a while. After I say goodbye to Lu Zichen we'll leave." "Okay." Muqiqi quickly nodded. "Go ahead. I'll sit by myself." It was just a few steps, so Xianxia didn't force her. He turned around and walked into the crowd. S3. Muqiqi also sat down on a comfortable chair. At that moment the hotel waiter walked to Muqiqi's side with a note and said to her, "Miss Mu, someone asked me to give this to you." Muqiqi looked at the piece of paper warily. After confirming that there were no other traps, she reached out and picked it up. Then she saw a sentence written on it. "You will definitely pay the price." Muqiqi frowned and suddenly looked around the hall. She had a hunch that the so-called Uncle Rome was probably nearby. Otherwise he wouldn't know that Xianxia wasn't by her side. Of course she wouldn't chase after him foolishly. Wouldn't that be playing into the enemy's hands? A moment later Xianxia returned to her side. Seeing her strange expression he frowned. "What's your expression?" Muqiqi reached out and handed the note to him. "I think this Feng Chong is probably targeting me." Xianxia tore the note and calmly helped Muqiqi up. "Let's go home. There's nothing to worry about." She was the weakest link between Xianxia and Tang Yan. Not only because she was a woman, but also because she was a pregnant woman who was about to give birth in 2 months. In addition, she was the one who discovered Xin Mei's matter, so it was only natural that Feng Chong would look for her. "Don't worry. Leave everything to me." Muqiqi shook her head. "I'm not worried. I just think that Feng Chong is very bold. He even dared to come to such a place. The police are looking for him everywhere. Whether he dares or not, no matter what he's doing, he won't be able to achieve his goal." Xianxia held Mu Qiqi's hand and led her out of the hotel venue. When we get home, I'll ask Fifth Aunt to prepare some calming tea for you. Then have a good rest. Don't think about anything else. Are you trying to coax me like a 3-year-old child? Mu Qiqi was a little helpless. Don't worry. My mental fortitude is very good. He's the one who has to live like a street rat now, not me. He's the one who should be afraid, not me. I have so many people around me to protect me. What's he to me? Xianxia had almost forgotten that this thing had always taken an unusual path. Chapter 961. He needs to be fed. Xianxia nodded and pulled the blanket back up for her. Rest well at home. Xiao, take care of my aunt's safety for me. This was what Mu Qiqi was most worried about. She was afraid that Feng Chong's so-called making her regret was to touch the person closest to her. Got it. Xianxia got up and left the bedroom. Even the little one could feel that Feng Chong's target was Su Zipei. How could he not think of it? In the short term, the best person for Feng Chong to get close to was Su Zipei. I really hope that I can catch Feng Chong as soon as possible and deal with the Song family as soon as possible. Mu Qiqi lay on the bed and felt extremely powerless. Now that she was dragging her heavy body, she probably wouldn't be able to help at all. After returning to Zhongting, Xianxia immediately called Tang Yan. Is there any news of Feng Chong now? This person is good at disguising himself and knows anti-reconnaissance methods. He's a fierce bandit. I'm afraid it won't be easy to successfully arrest him. Xiaoxing, what do you think? At the event venue today, the little one received a warning from Feng Chong. He should have been at the scene at the time. You can bring someone to the hotel to look for clues. He sees Xiaoqi as a target for revenge. Right now, none of us know who he has set as his target, but, in order to make him focus on us, I'll go to Z City for a meeting in 2 days. I won't be in Jianchuan. Feng Chong will definitely seize this opportunity. When the time comes, we'll invite him into the trap. Xianxia explained his plan. This method is a little risky, but Feng Chong will definitely come. You want Xiaoqi to be the bait. Tang Yan could not help but frown. No, find a female bodyguard with good skills to pretend to be her. However, Feng Chong might go to another place because the security system in the Banyan courtyard is too good. You should also arrange for people to ensure their safety. Where? His aunt's house, the small villa, Xianxia said extremely calmly. At the very least, his target is me. However, Su Che is by my side, so you don't have to worry. Let me think about it first and assess the danger. After all, it's a gamble with your safety. You can't joke about it. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. Tang Yan did not immediately agree to Xiao's suggestion. Although he knew that Xiao's plan was right, Feng Chong was too crazy. No matter what you plan, I will deliberately release the news that I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. I understand. After the call, Xiao immediately called his secretary to arrange the interview in Z City 2 days later. It would be best if he could find an opportunity to make it public. Su Che, who was standing beside Xiao, thought that Xiao's plan was crazy too. If you really let Feng Chong know your whereabouts, then his target must be you. I understand Feng Chong's mentality very well. He has been in the underworld for so many years and he has always been like this. Su Che stood beside Xiao with his hands behind his back. Do you want to reconsider? Qi is about to give birth. I have to deal with Feng Chong before that. I deliberately revealed my whereabouts more thoroughly. You're playing with your life. Xiao smiled confidently. I believe in my brain and I believe in your skills even more. Chapter 962. Are you afraid that you won't have the chance to get it back? Yan, I don't have any other requests. You just have to pay attention to your own safety. After all, you're already a father. You have to pay attention to the safety of the CO because he's about to become a father too. Don't worry. Since he was going to do it, he had to make sure that nothing went wrong. Therefore, before the next morning, Tang Yan had already replied to Xiao. We can go according to your plan, but the Song father and son will be released tomorrow morning. We have to think of a way to stall these 2 people. Then it's up to you, Xiao replied softly as he stood by the window in a black nightgown. I got it. Actually, it wasn't difficult. Since the Song father and son were related to the suspect, The police could find an excuse to protect the surveillance 24 hours a day to prevent Feng Chong from contacting them. In addition, the Yashang group was already troubled by internal and external troubles. He believed that the Song father and son would not be in the mood to do anything else, especially not to touch Xianxia. But you have to settle down, Chi-Chi. You don't have to worry about that. After saying that, Xianxia hung up the phone. When he turned around, he saw Mu Chi-Chi sitting on the bed and looking at him. Did I disturb you? Are you talking to Captain Tang on the phone again? Mu Chi-Chi asked in confusion. Hurry up and rest. Don't make a big deal out of it because of me, okay? Xianxia returned to the bed and reached out to hug Mu Chi-Chi. He saw that she had a pained expression. What's wrong? Leg cramps. Mu Chi-Chi blinked and said, It's very easy to have problems in the middle and late stages of pregnancy. Without saying anything, Xianxia grabbed her leg and gently massaged it. Now you know how hard it is to be pregnant. Will you still give birth in the future? Of course, Mu Chi-Chi replied heartlessly. Mu Chi-Chi replied heartlessly. Think about how many brothers and sisters you have. We only have one child. When I came to play with you, the child was alone. You're so unreasonable. After Xianxia finished massaging her calf, he said softly, In 2 days I'm going to Z City for a meeting. I wanted to bring you with me, but you're already pregnant, so it's better for you to stay at home. After Mu Chi-Chi heard this, she immediately stopped smiling and asked seriously, How many days? I'll be back the next day. Then go. Be careful. Mu Chi-Chi was a sensitive person and her mind would run wild. Who would believe that Xianxia was really going on a business trip at such a critical moment? However, she would not stop him. As she knew Xianxia. If she couldn't fight alongside him, she would be his shield so that he wouldn't have to worry about anything. Do you feel better now? Go to sleep. Okay, hug me tightly. In truth, both of them knew very well that Xianxia knew that he could not hide from that thing, and he was certain that it would not stop him. In this world, the person who understood him the most was this thing. Because in her heart, the Xianxia she knew was never a coward. He would only do what he was confident in. At most, she would follow him through life and death. The next day, the father and son of the Song family, who had been locked up in the interrogation room for 24 hours, were released. As Xiaolong expected, the father and son immediately went to complain. However, Tang Yan did not care. He sent Old Qin and another policeman to follow the father and son. Chapter 963. This is entirely because CEO Song did not provide any effective information. We are also afraid that the suspect will come back and contact you. This is also to ensure your safety. Old Qing thought about Tang Yan's instructions and said to the Song father and son seriously, Call your Captain Tang over. Captain Tang still has to track down Feng Chong's whereabouts. I'm sorry, I'll send you home now. Get in the car here. Also, our colleagues will protect you closely to ensure that you're safe before Feng Chong is caught. Old Qing was not afraid of Song Buji's threat at all. Song Buji let go of Old Qing and couldn't help but laugh. You're good. Send the two of them home. These two people had almost caused him to lose his life. How could he let them feel comfortable so easily? He couldn't. The Song father and son had no choice but to get into the police car. However, both of them were filled with anger. When they got home and locked up in the living room, Song Jiang exploded. You've gone too far. It's useless for you to be angry now. The Lu Corporation has already risen. Just yesterday, when we were locked up in the police station, Lu Zichen had already given his inaugural speech. Now that Yashang Group is facing internal and external troubles and scandals, are you still thinking about revenge? Song Buji was much calmer. Since he was home, he should take a good shower and continue playing the game. It couldn't be that others were playing well, but the father and son who started the war would be eliminated, right? I'll contact your Uncle Rong. Are you going to make the mistake from 25 years ago again? Song Buji stopped him. Now that the police are looking for Uncle Rong, he won't let the police have an easy time. What role do you play in the middle? Let them solve it themselves. Isn't that the best outcome? Song Jiang seemed to have woken up from a dream as he looked at Song Buji. From his son's plan, he was going to completely get rid of Feng Chong. We're just in charge of reorganizing Yashang Group. Why bother with the police? Don't forget your target is the Shen family. After hearing his son's words, Song Jiang almost thought that he had gone senile. But aren't you tired of being followed at home by this group of jinxes every day? Tang Yan wants to delay us. It's good that Uncle Rong can't contact us and avoid our responsibility. Isn't that perfect? Song Jiang calmed down and nodded in satisfaction. You're finally not going against me. Stay at home and watch the show. After saying this, Song Buji took off his coat and returned to his room. He hadn't showered for the whole night. As a germaphobe, he couldn't tolerate it at all. Song Jiang sat down on the chair. He suddenly felt that he was not as calm as his son during this period of time. Therefore, he planned to take advantage of the fact that the police were following him for the next 2 days to reflect on himself. On Tang Yan's side, he was still searching for Feng Chong in Jianchuan. However, this sly old man was too good at disguising himself. Therefore, there was no news of him ever since the arrest warrant was issued. Tang Yan agreed to Xing Zhao's suggestion. He planned to ensure the safety of the Sheng family from 3 aspects. Whether it was Mu Qiqi, Su Zipei or Xianxia himself, Tang Yan would not give up on any of them. In the afternoon, Tang Yan personally went to Zhongting, and Xing Zhao had just finished an important meeting. Xing Zhao's secretary quickly called Mu Qiqi when she saw that. I need you to provide me with all of your itinerary and time points, and even who you're meeting with. I want to know everything clearly. Feng Chong can see through your arrangements. He'll only believe you if you send people to wait near the banyan courtyard and the small villa. Our goal is to make Feng Chong think that we didn't expect him to come looking for me directly. Xing Zhao did not intend to reveal his exact itinerary to Tang Yan. Xing Zhao Feng Chong is a ruthless bandit. Tang Yan was a little helpless as he tried to persuade Xing Zhao. You want to use the greatest chance to make Feng Chong focus on you, right? From the beginning to the end, you didn't want Feng Chong to look for Xiao Qi and her aunt. You're so relaxed. How could Feng Chong not know that you're plotting against him? Even if you don't think about yourself, you have to think about Xiao Qi. I'm going to Z City. That's not your jurisdiction. It'll take time to mobilize police resources. Moreover, those police officers might not cooperate with you. They might alert the enemy, Xing Zhao explained. Second, I have Suche. Moreover, I'll deliberately design a few weak points and wait for Feng Chong to come to me. If I'm not confident, I won't tell you at all. Thirdly, no one is more concerned about Qi than I am. The matter with the Song family has been dragged on for too long. I don't want her to worry about being watched or being in danger when she's giving birth. Tang Yan opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. What if something happens to you? Have you thought about it? Hearing Tang Yan ask about what he was most worried about, Xing Zhao leaned back and chuckled. I'm here to catch someone, not to die. But, before Tang Yan could finish his sentence, the door of Xing Zhao's office was pushed open. Mu Qiqi walked to the 2 men with her bulging belly and sat down beside Xing Zhao. Captain Tang, just listen to Xiao Zhao's arrangements, Mu Qiqi said to Tang Yan. No one can change his decision. Don't I still have you? Xing Zhao pinched her palm and said. But I won't stop you. At most, if you're injured, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. If you die, I'll be buried with you. When Mu Qiqi said this, she was very casual. To her, it was as if it was only natural. Tang Yan got up from the sofa at the right time and silently left Xing Zhao's office. He thought that there was no way to continue the conversation today. After Xing Zhao heard Mu Qiqi's words, he held her shoulder and turned her to face him. Who taught you that? Those words. No one taught me. That's what I'm planning, Mu Qiqi said firmly. I knew that Captain Tang would come to look for you today, so I came over in the morning. I'm in your staff area. I believe in you, Master Xiao. Believe me? Why did you run over here? Are you afraid that I'm hiding something from you? Xing Zhao pulled her into his arms. When I come back, I'll clean up the Song family and give you a baby as a gift. Okay. Mu Qiqi nodded with a smile. Since you're already here, accompany me to work. I'll take you out for dinner tonight. As Mu Qiqi answered, she started to move her hands on Xing Zhao. She was already 8 months pregnant, but she wasn't being honest. Xing Zhao's eyes darkened. He couldn't help but ask the little thing, do you want me to take a cold shower on such a cold day? Mu Qiqi pouted and immediately stopped moving. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.